Aita for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after finding out only our side of the family were having to pay to attend. Obligatory. This is a throwaway account clarification. I'm very active in a D&D sub that I don't particularly want it to tie to this situation. So my younger sister, Katie 28F, and her partner, Chris 29M, are getting married in April in Dubai. She has always wanted an extravagant wedding and is going all out on this, so the wedding is happening over 4 days. There's 70 guests, but they want us, me, my husband, and parents, to stay in the same hotel with them along with her bridesmaids, which I am MOH, and groomsmen. The hotel is pretty luxe, so with flights is costing us just over £2,900 each. Chris' family are also staying in the hotel, which includes his parents, 2 brothers, and his nephew. They are well off. I don't know exactly how much they earn combined, but I know Katie is on 88k and she is the lower earner. But about 6 months ago Chris and Katie came to us and asked to borrow 17k more. They stressed it would be a loan paid over time and said the venue had increased the price, Dubai law was different, blah blah blah. They paid this money or they lost the lot. We believe them and I offered to loan 7k and my parents the other 10k. So long story short, I have since found out through someone else that the 17k wasn't for the venue, it was for Chris' family to fly over there. They saw how much it was going to be, didn't want to pay and refused to go. I asked Katie and she confirmed, so my first question was if they were paying for his parents, why not pay for ours? I would never expect them to pay for me, even if we couldn't afford it, I'd have wished them well and stayed at home. And her answer was because they can afford it. She got very defensive and said this was the fairest way she could think of doing it. It's hard enough planning a wedding etc., but when I asked, if you genuinely thought this was the fairest way to do it, why did you lie about what the 17k was for and say it was a venue issue? She couldn't answer. My parents are aware and are very disappointed they lied, but have said they're still attending, but I have backed out. To me it feels like my parents are being taken advantage, and if they couldn't afford to pay for both our and Chris' parents and his brothers and nephew, then they shouldn't have just paid for the 4 parents or no one at all. And they especially shouldn't have lied about it. Katie and Chris keep calling and asking me to attend, saying I'm making them feel bad and ruining their day. But the whole thing just feels icky to me. I'm genuinely an open book, so be brutal. Am I being an AH here? Should I just suck it up and go? Edit. Crumbs, that's a lot of comments, haha, thanks so much everyone. Just wanted to answer a couple of comments that have come up a lot. The repayment. My husband's brother is a solicitor and he kindly drew up a contract and repayment plan for both myself and my parents, so the money will be paid off within 12 months of the wedding. If they don't stick to this, I have access to a free solicitor, haha. I hope it wouldn't come to that, but that's why I have the papers for worst case scenario. Asking for the 7k back, I might be a soft touch, but asking for this back feels like a step too far. Like I'm mad as hell but not enough to actively try ruin their wedding a few weeks before, which it feels like, right now at least, is what that would be doing. But hey, give me a few more days to stew. Edit 2. Thanks again for all the feedback everyone. Just another quick FYI, a few people have asked about Chris' family or seem to have the impression they're well off. I'm obviously not privy to their financial situation, but what the limited amount I do know from what Katie has said, Chris and his family grew up very poor. Before all this I'd always thought Chris was a lovely guy, but I had caught him in the odd but harmless white lie, things like where he went to school, the type of house he grew up in, etc. I get the impression he is embarrassed or resentful of his upbringing given their lack of money, and this is how he now values his own self-worth, by his much money he has. My guess is when his family said they couldn't go he panicked and worried people who ask why they weren't there, and he would either have to say they couldn't afford it or he couldn't afford to pay for them. And look, his past trauma experience is not for me to judge. But if that were the case, it just makes me more mad that they both didn't plan ahead and talk to friends' family about what they could afford before booking Dubai. If it was such a deal breaker for his family to be there, they should have factored in the cost of paying for all parents to attend instead of thrusting a 3k per person bill at them and expecting them to rock up. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA, yet one of the many reasons I dislike destination weddings, they're the penultimate egocentric events. Reply. This is about right and what we figured. We live in London but family friends are all over the UK. A cheap hotel in London on a Saturday is going to be at least £150 near the venue. You could stay further out but the taxi back would be a killer. Plus train tickets, depending on where you're coming from, is upwards of £200 for 2 people, £100 for gift, etc. etc. But again, if people weren't able to make it, that would have been fine, and we covered as much as we could ourselves, which worked out about £670 per guest, as we paid for the hotel for a full week for everyone so they could just see us for the wedding day and then toddle off and have their own holiday if they wanted. X. Commenter 2. Chris and his family get very poor. Then why are they getting married in Dubai? NTA. Reply. I meant grew up very poor. Chris now has a very good job. I don't know exactly how much, but I know he makes more than my sister who is on 88k. I don't know if he gives money to his family or anything now, but I know they're still not what I would call well off. OOP further explains in another comment. I think Chris grew up quite poor. I've caught him in the odd white lie now and then about his family and how they grew up. For example, he once said they grew up in a 3-bed house, but Katie mentioned they all lived in a 1-bed flat. I wonder if they said they couldn't go, he was worried he'd have to explain that they couldn't afford to go and give away that they were poor essentially. Which, aside from all this BS, just makes me feel sorry for him. Update, Aita for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after finding out only our side of the family were having to pay to attend. I had a lot of messages at the time of posting, asking for an update on what I decided to do, so wanted to check in. So in short, I didn't end up going to the wedding. Katie and Chris basically harassed me constantly until few days before they were due to fly out. I received a belligerent voicemail from Katie saying if I didn't go I wasn't her sister anymore, I was embarrassing myself and her and Chris, I was a horrible person, and most shockingly if I didn't go then her and Chris wouldn't be paying me or my parents back for the money we loaned, so trying to blackmail me. She would say it was a gift, I faked the contract and I would have to take her to court. She was clearly drunk at the time. The voicemail was left on the night she was having her at-home hen do, which I also obviously didn't attend, but it was so beyond anything I thought she was capable of. I ended up sharing it with my parents and they also reluctantly pulled out of attending. I heard through friends and family in attendance at the wedding after her and Chris were telling everyone I had alienated her from her family and told lies to our parents, we gifted money and expected them to pay for us etc., and they made the decision to uninvited myself and my husband. Other, more insulting things were said that I don't particularly want to go into, suffice to say they were very hurtful. As I mentioned in my post, I had my brother-in-law, solicitor, draw up a contract for repayment for both myself and my parents. What was supposed to be the first repayment date passed without word from either of them, so BL picked up from there. His attempts to reach them were ignored apart from one email from what I think was a fake law firm outlining the money was gifted, the contract was fraudulent and to take them to court basically. In response to that, BL sent a copy of the voicemail Katie left and a final demand outlining the payment plan was now null and void and we wanted the money in full within 30 days or we would indeed be going to court. Magically the full amount appeared in our accounts 5 days later. Again, I've heard on the grapevine since the wedding they have been telling anyone who would listen we asked for our gift back out of the blue and disowned them and how much of a difficult financial position they are in because of this. So that's that. I can't see myself having a relationship with her after this, which is devastating, but at the same time, I truly believe now after everything that isn't my fault. Thanks again to everyone who gave advice. I hope this update is enough for everyone who asked for one. Stories number 2. Aita for telling my sister she can't live with us anymore after she called CPS on me as a joke. I, 30F, need to know if I'm being too harsh here because my family is completely divided. My younger sister, 26F, moved in with my husband, 32M, and me about 4 months ago after she lost her job. We have a toddler and a baby, so it's been hectic, but we wanted to help her get back on her feet. She was supposed to stay for 2 months max while job hunting. Here's where it gets messy. Last week, I asked her to watch the kids for an hour while I ran to the pharmacy. When I got back, she was on her phone while my toddler had gotten into the pantry and made a huge mess with flour everywhere. I'll admit, I lost my temper and told her she needs to actually watch them when she agrees to babysit. She got defensive and said I was being ungrateful for free childcare. Reminder, she lives here rent-free. We argued, and I told her if she can't do the bare minimum to help out, she needs to start looking for her own place. 2 days later, CPS showed up at my door. The worker said they received a report that I was overwhelmed and potentially neglecting my children. I was mortified. After they left, finding nothing wrong, obviously, my sister started laughing and said she called them to teach me a lesson about being ungrateful and that it was just a prank. I told her to pack her stuff and get out. Now, she's been staying with our parents, who are furious with me. They say she made a stupid mistake but she's family and I'm overreacting. They keep saying she was just stressed about being unemployed and lashed out. My mom even said I'm ruining her life over a joke gone wrong. My husband backs me 100% and says what she did was unforgivable. But now half my extended family isn't speaking to me, and my mom calls daily crying about how I'm tearing the family apart. My aunt even posted on Facebook about how some people forget where they came from, clearly about me. The thing is, I keep second-guessing myself. She is my sister, and she's never done anything like this before. But I can't get over the fact that she weapons CPS against me. That's not a joke. That could have had serious consequences for my family. Aita for kicking her out and refusing to let her come back. Edit, since people are asking. Yes, the CPS worker confirmed someone called in a report. No, I don't have proof it was my sister beyond her admission. And yes, I realize now I should have recorded her confession but I was too shocked in the moment. Stories number 3. Aita, for my response to my friend's confession after she rejected me. I don't expect you to like or agree with what I am about to say, but it has always been the way I am, and I've never lied about it. My friends have known this about me for years, and it just feels like they want me to break my principles for the sake of doing it, which feels toxic to me. I am pretty sure I am in the right, but my friends heavily disagree, so I wanted to ask for outside opinions. I've always been prideful, to what some would call a fault, but I would call the lack of pride I witnessed the same if I was being brutally honest, an asshole, so maybe we're just different people. I've had the same friend group for most of my life, we're all mid-20s. I do not believe in the whole break up get back together, or the yes no. Yes, no thing. If you say you don't want me, you don't want me, end of story, we can close that book and get back to where we were, no problem, and I won't bring it up again. 6-ish weeks ago, I finally got up the courage to ask out my best friend, someone I had feelings for a long time before this. She wasn't interested, and I accepted that right away, because why would I not? We've been friends for a long time, and I didn't expect anything from her. I did distance myself for just a little bit, to get over the awkwardness, but within a little over a week, it was like nothing happened, and I was glad. At least, until this last weekend, where during a sleepover with all of our friends at my place, she kissed me. No one else was paying attention, and I was kind of in shock, so I just pulled away, and shook my head. I honestly figured she was plastered and that would be the end of it. We all had been drinking a lot, and I wasn't even going to bring it up. Next morning, I wake up, and she, as well as a couple of our friends are gone. The ones that were still there were really angry. No matter how I try to explain where I'm coming from, I'm apparently not understanding how hard it was for her to confess, and that she felt humiliated by my reaction. I told them that they all knew how I felt about this kind of thing, and they started talking about how it was a different situation, and that my response was heartless. I don't care, Aita. Comments. Commenter 1. NTA. What the heck is wrong with your friends? Rejecting a kiss by pulling away and shaking the head is heartless now. Do they think you have to accept any approach by a woman? Assuming the way you described the situation is accurate, you didn't humiliate her, you just rejected her, which is totally fine. Commenter 2. On top of that, he thinks no one's seen. Which means she was the one who told everyone. She can be embarrassed about the rejection, but she humiliated herself. Commenter 3. I'd be more worried about what she told everyone. Commenter 4. NTA. What in the grade school shenanigans is this? She rejects you, then changes her mind and kisses you without saying anything. Weird. Reply. To be fair to her, and I mentioned this in another comment, when we were young we made out, messed around some when we would drink or smoke, but also, we haven't done that since we were teenagers, so it was still unexpected for me. It's also why I didn't take it seriously at all. I thought she was plastered and horny, and that she thought I was plastered and horny. Not a crime, and not something I even thought was worth bringing up, honestly. Update. I promised a couple of people an update if there was one, other than me just losing almost all of my friends in one go, and to my surprise there is. Though at the same time, I'm mostly posting this for me, shouting into a void, because I feel slightly rock bottom right now, and my gut is telling me to quit my job, pack my shit and leave the state, leave this half of the country, TBH, because life here is unsalvageable for me. I got family out west who'd let me stay for a while, and every second I consider it, it seems like a better idea. I also wanted to start by saying I would like to explain my position a little bit better, so just skip the next 2 paragraphs if you don't want to hear it. Try to make your starting point easy to find, sorry if it didn't work, but I do want the chance to explain myself a little better. I was a wreck writing the first one, and looking back over it, I didn't give many details regarding my reasons, or how I feel about it, outside of avoiding the situations. I do not view myself as an epic badass or whatever else everyone was commenting on the last post. In fact, I do understand that to many, this is a pretty fatal flaw in my personality. I have accepted that for a lot of people, that opinion is one that cuts off the possibility of friendship. It sucks, but I also don't want to change myself or force myself into uncomfortable situations, just because people don't like a part of me. I am very accepting of others' views on the situation, and completely agree that my own can seem rigid. I don't blame people for disagreeing. I think that plenty of people could have a wonderful relationship in that situation. I only even brought this up because it matters to the story. However, I also know that when it comes to relationships, it would not be fair to either party, in a case like this. I know for a fact I would never fully know that I wasn't a backup option, or that they aren't just saying yes because it's convenient now. I don't want those kinds of thoughts in my head, and I don't want to constantly feel like I have to prove I am worth it in a relationship. I have more pride, or maybe as others have said, self-respect is better wording. It isn't meant as a gotcha, or to punish the other person in any way. It's because even if I still have romantic feelings, I genuinely don't think the relationship is a good idea anymore. Anyway, for the actual update. After almost a full week of radio silence, she replied to my texts and asked if we could meet and talk. I asked where she wanted to meet, and she said my place, I assume for privacy, which is cool. I know a lot of people were talking about her trying to set me up for crimes and stuff, but I'm not really worried about that, from her. I just don't think she would. She isn't vindictive. So when she got here, and we sat down, I pretty much just told her that I was so confused about everything that I didn't even know what to make of all that happened, and I asked her to tell me what happened from her point of view. There were two differences between her version, and my version that I picked up on, which may well have been accurate. I was plastered and they aren't huge differences, but at the same time, I can see how it would be embarrassing. She claims that after I pulled away I made a face like I was grossed out. Afterward she said I shifted to be leaning away from her, for the rest of the movie, and it just made it worse. I don't remember either of them, but again, drunk not gonna deny it, I have little control over my face when I smoke or drink, and I absolutely could have made a face without realizing it, just out of shock. I apologized for that and assured her I wasn't disgusted, just shocked as hell, and also assuming it was a drunk mistake kind of thing. Hell, we've all done stupid shit drunk, no big deal. It was only the next morning when I was bum-rushed with accusations before I even got a morning piss that I was told it was meant to be any kind of hint or whatever. She did look really embarrassed at that point and told me she hadn't thought about it that way, and just thought it would be more simple than everything else. I decided, against my better judgment, to ask the question everyone here told me I needed to ask. Why did she actually reject me at first, and what caused her to change her mind? That's when things got really uncomfortable, and I could tell she didn't want to tell me, but eventually, she did. Apparently, her parents are more bigoted than she or anyone else led me to believe, so in her own words, telling them we were in a relationship wouldn't be worth it, since I came out. I am NB, and she said they haven't liked me since then but stay civil for her sake. Meaning that they would just trash talk me whenever I left. Which is really frustrating and embarrassing, considering all I've done for that fucking family over the years. She was scared that dating would push them too far, and they'd cut her off from their lives. She said that she'd hoped maybe we could try dating on DL, and if things got serious enough then she could. I pretty much just told her I had a lot to think about and asked her if I could have some time. She agreed and left, and I don't know if I'm more furious, or embarrassed, or hurt. Why didn't she tell me before now they were saying that kind of shit about me? What kind of friend does that? I'm not saying she had to cut them off or stop seeing them, I totally understand weird dynamics with parents, believe me, but maybe tell me that they have an open disgust and hatred for my existence before I decide to help them with household chores and treat them like I would family. I mean, I grew up with these people. For God's sake, I thought of her mother as a better one to me than my own, not a high bar, but she was doing cartwheels 50 feet over it in my eyes. I am so sick to my stomach with grief. I'm pretty sure we aren't gonna be able to be friends anymore, and it just hurts. I grew up with her, she is the first person other than my dad I came out to, and I never ever thought there would be anything she would do that I couldn't forgive her for, but making a fool out of me for years, then suggesting we date quietly so her family doesn't have to know she's with the local freak show just feels way too far. I want to forgive her, but she's not even sorry, she didn't even apologize for anything. I want to see her reasons, I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but it just hurts. I'm not sure if I wish I hadn't followed the advice or not, right now, even though I know it's better to know. I am glad, at least that I will know to stop wasting time, labor, and money on people who hate me. But to know that they hate me is so painful. Comments. Commenter 1. For God's sake, I thought of her mother as a better one to me than my own, not a high bar, but she was doing cartwheels 50 feet over it in my eyes. Along with everything else, this must suck like hell. So sorry for you, OP. If she wasn't even willing to stand up to you with her family, then it was probably the best decision to not be involved with her. And certainly not now. Reply, yeah, a romantic relationship is entirely off the table. I'm trying to wait to speak to my therapist before I do anything rash, but I do not want to be here anymore, and I'm just scared it's gonna get worse. I have cried so much over her mom since we spoke. She's the one who helped with my homework, who took me to the doctor when I was sick and made sure I had enough to eat, and now she just hates me. It feels so unfair. Commenter 2. So your friend came over, she explained her embarrassment and interpretation of what happened. She took on your view on what happened and how you were ambushed in the morning and how everyone got mad at you. Now that she knows all this, is she gonna smooth it out with everyone else and get them to apologize to you? Are you gonna be accepted in the friends group again? Are things gonna go back to the way they were? I get that her family is bigoted, that you are frustrated how they view you and how she wanted a relationship on the DL. Her family is a new, second issue she's raised. But that's separate from your first issue, losing your entire friend network on top of that, and she's responsible for that. For isolating you and turning everyone against you. She needs to reframe you pulling away from her kiss as not a rejection, but you not taking advantage of someone who was intoxicated and confusion as to her actions after rejecting you. Assigning it to drunk mistake is fair enough, but recognizing that in the moment and acting like a gentleman and not taking advantage of her was the right thing to do. Especially since she didn't verbalize anything related it to her just going for the kiss, which, BTW, wasn't a confession, it was just lobbing the gob. A confession uses words. Reply, the hateful messages have stopped, but no one has apologized, and I'm keeping them muted for now just in case they get angry again. I don't know. I get the feeling they just want to pretend they didn't say that shit, and that isn't happening. Also, that's an assumption, and you know what assumptions do, so take it with a grain of salt. Maybe they feel bad and want to reach out, maybe they're waiting for something, I don't care. I just want to give that benefit of the doubt because I am trying not to think the worst of everyone right now. Update. So, it's been a while. I was talking to a new friend yesterday about why I moved, and remembered this account, so I figured I'd give you an update. I didn't confront my ex-friend's mom or dad, I didn't think it was necessary. I believed her. I don't think she was lying. I spoke to my therapist, and we went over my reasons to stay, and my reasons to go, and the list for leaving was so much longer than staying. It was pretty simple to move, I was renting on a month-to-month lease, and I didn't have much I needed to keep. I regret that partially now. I think I was a little manic when I started my little spring cleaning and threw away some stuff I wish I'd kept. I'm living with my uncle now, who's really cool, in a much more populated area. It was a lot easier to find friends out here than back home. I did receive a few apologies from the friends who were sending nasty texts before I left, and I accepted those, but I was pretty honest about my plans. The one who really showed their true colors was my ex-best friend. When she found out I was moving, she was pretty furious, and kept yelling and calling me names, and all this stuff, which I thought was because she was going to miss me. Nope. Ended up asking what her parents were supposed to do now, since I was the one who took care of their gardens for the most part. Asked how selfish I could be, and if I wanted them to break a hip just because they didn't like that I wear skirts now. She didn't outright call me a slur, but there were a lot of little digs in that last talk that made me keep waiting for it. I don't think she's a bigoted asshole. I think she was mad and knew that would hurt my feelings, so she dug in deep. So anyway, I've had her, and most of the people back home blocked for a while, and it doesn't bother me much. I'm doing well. I had a birthday party recently. Side note, I will never ever get over being able to wake up and decide to go to the beach, and just drive there. That is such a luxury to me, and I hope it never gets old. My uncle is a quiet guy, I like spending time with him, and his wife. They never make me feel like a freak, and I am so glad to call them family. Comments. Commenter 1. Glad to hear things are better now. Ex-friend might not be bigoted, but if she's using your identity to hurt you, she might as well be. You're better off without. Reply, I agree with the last part. I have been feeling so much lighter since I moved, of course it's still new, but I love it here. I think the initial problem was trying to start a relationship with a friend in the first place. I would almost compare it to don't shit where you eat for me. I know that's for work not friends, but it feels correct since it imploded my life in a similar way. But, you live and you learn. Commenter 2. Wow, did you ever dodge a bullet with that family? Seriously, don't spend any time mourning that friendship or losing those people. They are all kinds of terrible. Also, don't feel like you are in the wrong for having a if you don't want me now, you don't get me later kind of attitude. How you handled things is exactly how any rational person would. You asked her out, she said no. So you moved on. I am the exact same way if that helps. If you don't want me now, and you reject me when I ask you out, that's it. I'm never going to change my mind. I won't wait for you to figure things out with another dude. I won't be your backup plan, and I dang sure won't be your side piece or hidden boyfriend like your ex-friend wanted. Good for you for having clear boundaries in life. Stories number 4. My husband had an affair with my little sister. My life will never be the same after this. We've been married for 2 weeks. My 27-year-old husband has been sleeping with my little sister behind my back. She's 17, legal age of consent, but she's still a baby. We just found out she's 1 month pregnant, but she refused to say who the father is. Yesterday my parents asked me to come over. Apparently, they installed a monitoring app on her phone and that's how they found out he's the father. My sister is saying she is sorry over and over again. My husband also apologized, saying he made a mistake and wants us to go to counseling and stay married. I didn't say much. I told him I'm filing for divorce. I'm not changing my mind. I know for sure I'll never speak to him again after everything's over. As for my sister, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Relevant comments. What are OOP and her parents' plans to do with her little sister? Reply, I don't know yet. On one hand she knew she was doing something wrong, but on the other she's just a kid. I don't know how to feel or what to do. Commenter 1, I'm so sorry OP. How long has he known your sister? If they recently met, they are both disgusting. Full stop. If he met her as a child, he probably groomed her. The fact that she was still trying to protect him after she got pregnant says a lot. Regardless, he's a predator. I also have an older sister and could never imagine doing this to her unless I absolutely hated her. I can't understand why she would do that to you SMH. Reply, he's known her since we started dating, so about 2 years. She was just 15. I'm sick to my stomach thinking about how long this may have been going on. OOP on if her parents and she will get the law involved and if an abortion was possible or not. Reply, the messages go far back so my parents are still looking into it. Once we find out how long it was going on we'll get the police involved. The topic of abortion hasn't come up yet. OOP on the state where the age of consent is 17. Reply, Texas from what I've read, kids 14 to 16 can consent to someone up to 3 years of age, while 17 plus can consent to anyone. Commenter 2, she was 1000% groomed by him. He knew what he was doing. If I were you I'd move away for a good while. Commenter 3, check whether you can file for annulment rather than divorce. He married you under false pretenses while fathering a child with another woman. The dates will support the annulment. Also, although you won't want to hear this, get an STI test as you don't know who else he's been cheating on you with and it is obvious he wasn't using protection. Sending you a hug to help hold you together a little bit. Update, my husband was arrested this morning. Thank you to everyone who read my first post and offered support. It feels like I'm living a nightmare. A lot more has happened, so I wanted to post an update. The day I posted, they took my sister to the police. She admitted that the relationship with my husband began when she was 15. She also said things became physical when she was 16. They had exchanged inappropriate messages and images, and the content on her phone matched everything she told them. My soon-to-be ex knew she was pregnant. He was arrested at his job earlier today. Last night was the first time in a year that I went to bed and he wasn't there. It felt surreal. My dad, who is very religious, insists my sister keep the baby. My mom believes she should have the choice to end the pregnancy. I've already contacted a lawyer for the annulment and emphasized that I want no more contact with him. There's nothing left to salvage. Even though my sister has apologized several times, she still believes she's in love with him. My family is planning to start family counseling soon. It will be focused on figuring out how to move forward and what kind of relationship, if any, I want to have with my sister. There are no clear answers right now. The support I've received from people here has helped me feel less alone. Thank you. Relevant comments. How old are you? Reply, 24. Commenter 1, he's a monster. I'm glad he's facing consequences, but I'm heartbroken for all of you who were impacted by how vile he is. Commenter 2, wow, this is just awful. Praying for your family. I hope your ex gets a long time in prison and that you and your family are able within time to get through this. Stories number 5. Aita for moving in with my dad so I wouldn't have to share my money with my sister. My parents separated when I, 14F, was 5. They were never married and they decided to figure out custody and child support without the court, so the agreement was that my sister, 12F, and I would live with our mom and visit our dad every other weekend and 50-50 on school breaks, and he pays my mom child support. I've been modeling since I was 3. My mom's friend worked as an executive or something in a big kids clothing brand and got me to model for them, and that turned into commercials and stuff, and from there I got other modeling jobs, commercials, and appearances in some movies and TV shows. My dad's always managed that stuff for me. They tried to get my sister into modeling and commercials too, but that kind of thing wasn't really for her. She really wants to model and act and she gets kinda jealous. My mom never was involved in the money side of it. My dad or stepmom or nanny would take me to jobs and talk to everyone for me, and my dad manages my money. I got a small job working for my mom's friend. She has a small clothing brand and wanted me to model the kids section on her website. My mom wanted her to take both me and my sister, but my mom's friend only wanted me, which kinda pissed my mom off. She paid cash and my mom made me give half of it to my sister because it's not fair that her friend only wanted me. My dad got me a debit card and every month he transfers an allowance from the money I get from modeling and stuff to my everyday account. A couple months ago my mom told me I was gonna have to withdraw half of my allowance to give to my sister because my mom can't afford to give her the same allowance as me. I said no and she grounded me for 2 weeks. This month she told me either I give them half of my allowance or I get grounded again for a month and early bedtime and extra chores, and I go back on a low-fat gluten, sugar, and dairy-free diet. She made me go on that diet last year because I have an autoimmune thing and she was convinced it would cure me and I was so miserable my doctors recommended seeing a psychologist. After that I told my mom I'll go to the bank after school and get her the money, but when I got to school I called my dad and stepmom and told them they had to get me. They picked me up and when I told them everything they said I didn't have to go back. Now my mom's texting me and calling me a selfish bitch and a liar and a bunch of other stuff, and my sister says she can't believe I'm choosing to move and leave my friends instead of sharing with her. Now I feel really bad and I wanted to know if I was the asshole. Stories number 6. Got humiliated in front of the class. Waited weeks to return the favor. We were never friends. Just the kind of classmates who sat near each other, swapped jokes when it suited her, and ignored each other the rest of the time. One day in class, I said something dumb, not even trying to be funny, just honest, and she saw an opening. Loud voice, smug grin, whole class watching. Oh my god, are you actually that stupid? Laughter. Attention. Teacher didn't even check it. I just laughed it off. But inside? That stung. You know when you replay something later and think, I should have said something back. I didn't. Instead, I waited. Couple weeks later, we had a group project. She ended up in mine, not her first choice. She didn't do much, but she thought she could still coast off the work. So when it came time to present, I gave the teacher the version I finished without her part in it. Told him she didn't contribute. Gave proof. She looked confused when she didn't get called up. More confused when she got marked separately. And probably the most confused when she asked if I said anything and I just said, didn't think you wanted my input. You said I was stupid, remember? I didn't make a scene. Didn't raise my voice. But I still heard someone go damn from the back of the room. She never spoke to me again. Stories number 7. This girl from HS used to make fun of my body and now I have a fat baby. So I used to have this friend in high school who was a curvy girl while I generally more flat. I was a late bloomer and this friend frequently made comments about my flatness. Eventually, I developed a crush on a boy and he clearly reciprocated the same feelings. He would bring my favorite candies and write me sweet notes, all that gooey shit. Well, this same friend of mine decided she liked him and she would make comments like, why would anyone want you when they could have this? Runs her hand down her body. Eventually she straight up asked me to give him to her, so, in a failed attempt to avoid drama, I just dropped him. Yes, I recognize that was an unkind thing to do, but I was not very emotional intelligent and my self-esteem was in the ground. My friend soon started flirting with him but he did not like her back. I think the rejection made her upset, so she began making even more degrading comments towards me. At one point, I very vividly remember her saying that my future baby would starve to death because I was so flat. Welp, here I am a decade later and these memories come flooding back to me. Why, you ask? Because I currently have my 21-pound 6-month-old boob barnacle feeding himself to sleep while he repetitively squishes my boob like a stress ball. LMAO. This kid is in the 90th percentile and looks like he should be carrying me. Anyways, life is good, my baby is fat, I've got nice titties, and that curvy girl ended up getting cheated on by her baby daddy and is now a single mom. Karma is a bitch. LOL. Stories number 8. AIO, married for 2 years thinking about divorce because of her past I just found out about. I know people do things they are not proud of. I honestly feel like the joke of our whole friend group now and can never see myself ever facing any of them again. Last weekend we went to a house party at our mutual friend's new lake house. Food was great, drinks were flowing. Her oldest friend, we will call Danny, was there with his husband. Gay male best friend, which I never had a problem with. Started talking about how different couple met or started their relationships. When I met my wife she had a rule about not sleeping with someone till she knew them a year. I respected that, believing she was absolutely worth it. Thanks to good old Danny found out I was the only guy that rule applied to. Because before me she hooked up all the time. He said he was worried about her self-destructive hoe phase. That being bad enough, then he added the cherry on top, that she slept with him while dating me just to get her needs taken care of, nothing more. Asked her if it was true and she cried and said I can explain. At that I just left her at the friend's lake house. Went home, packed my travel bag and got in my car and just drove east. Staying in a nice extended stay hotel in a nice little town. Went to Walmart, got a fishing license and some cheap fishing gear. I am thinking I should just cut my losses and get a lawyer, maybe on Monday. Am I overreacting or am I justified? Stories number 9. Aita for telling my niece that the family does not like her fiance and that I won't be at her wedding. So for context, there is a 21-year age gap between myself and my eldest brother. This made it so me, 28F, and his oldest daughter, 23F, are very close in age and have grown up very close. I am very much the favorite aunt and have always considered us friends, not just family. She comes to me when she has a problem she didn't want to talk to her parents about. She tells me about her boyfriend and friend problems. She would call me when she was in college and needed picked up from a party or bar. And I was the first person she told when her boyfriend proposed, calling me at 6 a.m. the morning after because she was so excited to tell me. Some context on her fiance: they have been together for 3 years and he is 1 year younger than her. She just graduated college in May 2024 and he is on track to graduate in May of 2025. They have their wedding scheduled for just a week after his graduation. He is studying biochemical and microengineering and is very smart, more on the introverted side with a dry humor. Since she introduced him to the family, we could tell they are serious and tried to be as welcoming as possible, inviting him to family events and on trips, getting him birthday and Christmas presents, and genuinely trying to get to know him. Whenever he is around our family he acts annoyed all the time, like it's painful to spend time with us, and he expects my niece to stay by his side the whole function, getting annoyed if any of the little cousins ask her to play, including my children. More context: my niece is my children's godmother, and expects her to leave at the same time as him even if they drove separately. My eldest brother is constantly advocating for him, saying he's just introverted and the size of our family makes him uncomfortable, insisting that he's different when it's smaller groups or one-on-one, but I haven't seen it even when it was just the two of them with myself and my husband. He talks to everyone like we are stupid and is extremely condescending. When they got engaged things got worse. With how close we are, I was expecting to be asked to be a part of the wedding party, but she did not ask me. I was a little hurt, but I chose to let it go because it's her special day and her choice. Then his family planned the engagement party and didn't invite any of my family. She explained that it was just a small affair, just their parents and siblings, but I later found out she lied to me when I saw pictures on social media. I did confront her about that, but she said she didn't plan the guest list, so I tried to let that go too. Then she didn't invite myself or my mom to her dress outing, saying it was a limited number of people allowed and she wanted to make sure his mom and sisters could come with her. After that I told her that it really seemed like she was trading our family for his family. She said she wasn't, but when I asked them later how they planned to spend holidays he said they'd spend them with his family. My last straw was over December and January. In December she invited me and my husband for dinner. I was excited because she hadn't initiated us hanging out since her engagement. Dinner was nice, a little awkward since conversation wasn't smooth with her fiancé, but pleasant enough. When the check came my husband took care of it after it sat on the table for about 15 minutes and they didn't offer to split or pay even though they invited us. Then when we were ready to go they asked if we could have a serious conversation. I was confused as to why we didn't have it during the meal, but they proceeded to ask us for money to pay for their wedding. She said it was turning out to be more expensive than they thought and needed help since their parents don't make enough. I asked why they didn't wait until he was working and not just in an unpaid internship, or until she got a full-time job instead of a part-time job. I said that I wasn't saying no, but that I just wanted to understand why they wanted to have their wedding so fast. The wedding is about 8 months after their engagement. That conversation devolved into an argument about financial responsibility where her fiancé said if we can help then we should because it's family. And then following up with us having plenty of time to resave when my husband explained a lot of our money was invested for our children's future. After we offered 2G as a little something to help, my niece brought up my savings from my deceased husband's life insurance. I asked if she really thought bringing up my deceased husband was going to help her. We then repeated our offer of 2G and he asked if that was really all we'd give them, so we withdrew the offer. We left enraged. Then before Christmas my mom invited them over to bake because the fiancé enjoys baking desserts and bread. He was so rude to her throughout that she came over for some grandkid time and tea because she was so sad. My dad was pissed. And then neither my niece nor fiancé came to Christmas. We had a family get-together around New Year's, and when we were driving 2 of my brothers and their wives home we had a conversation about how sick everyone was of the fiancé and how we wished they weren't getting married. Finally in January it was my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I planned a party for them and then we were going to Mexico, which was group financed by myself and my siblings for our parents. Fiancé was only coming to party as he couldn't miss school for Mexico. The party was fancy, RSVP invitations, private venue, catered, semi-formal dress code. A week before my niece texted me and let me know fiancé wasn't going to come to the party because of a fraternity event. I told her that this was an important family event and on top of that it was rude to skip out on an event that you've asked for without a good reason, and made it clear that I didn't consider his fraternity a good reason considering how long he's known about the event. She said she'd talked to him but I never heard back, so I was unsure if he was going to come. Day of he showed up late wearing a t-shirt, jeans, and backward cap. My mom, still trying to be nice, said she was glad he was there and he responded like I had a choice. He then stayed in his seat not speaking to the people at his table or participating in the activities. About halfway through we were taking a family picture and invited him to be in it and he said this isn't my family. My mom started crying and excused herself to the bathroom. I pulled him aside and snapped. I told him that if he didn't want to be in this family to get the F out. That I was tired of dealing with his attitude and disrespect, and pretending to like him, and told him to leave. When my niece went to follow him, I told her that if she went with him that she should forget coming to Mexico with us. She didn't follow him, but she made it clear that she was upset that he'd been kicked out. The adults in the family, about 12 of us, sat down with her to air out our grievances about the fiancé with her so that she understood the extent of the problem, but she still defended him, said that we just didn't know him as well and that we made him uncomfortable. After that conversation, I told my husband that I just couldn't act like nothing was wrong anymore. So we declined on the RSVP to the wedding. She texted me asking why we said no, and I met her for coffee. I explained to her that I didn't feel that I could support her marriage, that he wasn't a good person, and I felt like her independence and everything that was special about her was disappearing behind his expectations. She disagreed and told me that I just didn't understand. She then told me that if I really cared about her that I should suck it up and come to her wedding. So Aita, should we go to the wedding? And was I wrong for telling her in the first place? Update. My niece was raised in a Christian household and she chose to maintain her faith while in college when she did live independently, on scholarship and student-subsidized housing with one roommate away from parents for 4 years, and from what I understand her fiancé is too. They don't live together and they don't do overnights by their choice. She has returned to living with her parents because she is broke and unmotivated and he lives in a frat house. Her parents also expect her to follow their rules, including a curfew while living at home, and respect for the routine that's been established for her special needs sister. So while I agree with the assessment that he's setting her up to be isolated, they aren't currently in a situation or the privacy for financial or emotional abuse. I do also think he's a narcissist. She agreed to sit down and talk with me again, and I was able to better articulate my concerns for her future and what she is setting herself up for, and my concerns about him. We are still not going to the wedding. I explained to her that part of it is because I love her. That ultimately it's supposed to be a special day for her, and that with the way I feel about him that I would object to the union in front of everyone as opposed to privately. I told her that whatever she chooses that I am always specifically in her corner, and that I hope that she will still want to spend time with me and my kids, but more than that to know that she can come to me anytime for anything. And that for her sake I do hope that I'm wrong about him. We did get her a few things off the registry that I knew were more for her than for him. She said she would think about everything, so we will see what happens between now and then. And to the person who said they thought I didn't think it through on what this might mean for the future, I can assure you I did. My family means the world to me and I don't want to hurt her or my relationship with her, but we got to the point where I couldn't stay quiet and pretend like there wasn't anything wrong. Thanks to everyone for the input, it really helped me organize my thoughts and think through everything that's happened. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA, but I don't think you are seeing things clearly. The guy made her own grandma cry and she defends him. You all act as if he is the problem here. But SHE is choosing him, she is defending him. He is that way because she allows it to be. He made her grandma cry and she still said you were all in the wrong. She is not some silly child blinded by love. She sees what he does, but still chooses him when he so blatantly disrespects all of you. She is the AH here. Well, the fiancé too, OFC, but it wouldn't matter if she was not choosing him. Stop believing she is just some misguided child. She's an adult and making very clear choices. Commenter 2, NTA, I like how when asking for money y'all are all family, but when it's time to take a picture y'all aren't family. I would let your niece know that while you don't support her marriage you support her and will be there if she needs to leave. Commenter 3, NTA, he really said, this isn't my family, at a 50th anniversary party after begging for wedding money. You dodged a bullet not funding his big day. Commenter 4, Nta, I love the honesty you were able to offer your niece, which is all she needs right now. I think your niece sounds a little entitled and I'm shocked she asked you for money for their wedding. It seems that's the only reason why they asked you out to lunch. Update. So I honestly wasn't sure if I was going to have anything else to update after my husband and I decided not to go to the wedding, and figured if I did have more to update it wouldn't be until after the wedding. But holy hell was I wrong. I figured I'd share since so many people were invested and gave great advice when I needed it before. So first off, my daughter and I ended up going to the bridal shower at the end of April. My niece asked me repeatedly to come and I figured that things would be relatively drama-free since the fiancé doesn't get to come to that. I asked in advance if she was sure she wanted my daughter to come since she is under 10. I was assured that there would be other children there and that my niece really wanted her goddaughter there. Skip to day of and my daughter was the only child. One of my SIL even told me she was told not to bring her 3 daughters, 1 older and 2 younger than my daughter. The maternal aunt kept scolding my daughter for touching things even though I was keeping an eye on her and she did no such thing. The mother of the groom asked if I was purposely trying ruin the event, and the groom's sister said it was rude of me to bring her. I was ready to just walk out, but the bride's 19-year-old sister took my daughter to play in her room upstairs. My other niece that took her upstairs has special needs and had said she was feeling overstimulated, but the bride was still upset that she didn't stay downstairs for the whole event. The bride never even said hi to my daughter, making her feel very sad when we went home. We played those how well do you know the bride games, which I won, prompting my niece to say that I was basically her best friend, causing an awkward silence as the room became confused as to why I wasn't in her wedding party. Extra special surprise for me when I found out that all the groom's sisters are in her bridal party but her best friend and her own sister are not. About a week later we got together to celebrate my dad's birthday. When my mom invited them, the fiance responded, "If I don't have anything better to do then I might come." My mom didn't hear anything else, so assumed he wasn't coming, and when he showed up she had to set a place for him, prompting him to play victim, saying we don't want him around. He then had to be asked to put his phone away at the table while we were all eating and no one else had their phones with them. The final straw for my parents was twofold. They asked about the rehearsal dinner because you'd think the grandparents of the bride would be invited. They were told it was wedding party only, which basically includes the groom's whole family. I later found out through other people that the groom's grandparents were going to the rehearsal dinner because they came from out of state and wanted as much time with the grandkids as they could get. I kept that tidbit to myself because I didn't want my parents to be more hurt than they were already feeling. They then had the audacity to ask my parents to hang out with the bride's sister since she doesn't do well staying at home alone and they would all be busy at the dinner. The second thing was that the bride asked my mom what she'd be wearing to the wedding, specifically asking if she was going to be buying a new dress. My mom said that she wasn't buying something new because she already had a nice dress. My niece responded that my mom dresses old-fashioned and frumpy and that she didn't think anything she already had would be appropriate for the wedding. My mom is very stylish for her age, mid-70s, and the dress she had picked out was gorgeous. My mom told her that she was being rude but that she would give her the benefit of the doubt because planning a wedding was stressful, and sent her a picture of the dress. She then told my niece that she had gotten it for her best friend's daughter's wedding and had only ever worn it that once, so my niece hadn't seen it before. My niece responded, "I guess it's okay." My mom felt very defeated and my dad had had enough. He responded on their behalf with, "From our various interactions it does not seem that you want us to be participants in your special day. Your grandmother and I will no longer be attending your wedding." They returned their wedding gifts. My husband and I decided to do the same, rolling on the floor laughing. Now from my side of the family the only ones that are going are two of my 5 siblings. One because it's his daughter, and one because his wife is playing the guitar during the ceremony and he did not want her going alone. She does piano or acoustic guitar accompaniment for special events professionally, and she had committed before the bulk of the drama happened and did not want to harm her professional reputation by backing out last minute. That brother has let everyone know that they will not be staying past the ceremony, that his kids are hanging out with Grammy and Gramps, and that he is going full petty by wearing jeans, t-shirt, and hat just like the fiancé did to our parents' 50th anniversary celebration. That's all I've got for now, and I don't care what else could happen at this point, but I'll keep you updated. Wedding is 1 week away. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is your niece using him and his obvious disrespect for your family as her own little rebellion against a stifling home life and upbringing? I know I'd be rebelling like fuck if I was mid-20s, still living with my parents at their insistence, and they imposed a damned curfew on me. Having her fiancé be the one taking the fire, and the blame, will make it so much easier for her to go low contact and live her own life without the restrictions and expectations piled on her by her birth family. Do you know if she wanted to move in with him before the wedding but her parents had a screaming fit about it? That might be why they want to get married so quickly, just so she can get out from under her parents' roof and rules. Reply, not their insistence. She has a part-time job and can't afford to live anywhere else. The curfew is to respect the other people in the house. Just because you're an adult doesn't mean you can come and go whenever you please. When doing so may be disturbing other people that have set schedules and real jobs or special needs like her sister. Especially when the said individual is contributing a big fat nothing to the finances and upkeep of the home. It's less of a curfew and more of a be home by a certain time or make other arrangements sort of thing. She lived with a roommate in college because she got a big scholarship and subsidized housing. My family is religious but not pushy and very open-minded. A few of us have walked away from the faith or established our own beliefs. It was their decision not to move into together before this, and I'm sure a contributing factor to that was him being very happy and content in his fraternity house and her unable to afford something on her own. She's certainly not a religiously oppressed little victim here, just to be clear. I do see how in the first post I conveyed it that way, but a better way to put it would be that they both grew up in a Christian upbringing and chose to make decisions based on those personal beliefs. Commenter 2. So why did you let those relatives talk to your daughter like that and behave like that instead of setting the record straight? I quite literally have it in writing that my daughter is wanted here, so how about you take it up with X if you disagree? Now get away from my daughter and leave her alone. Reply, the only one who spoke directly to my daughter was my niece's aunt on her mother's side. I told her that if there was a problem she needs to come to me. We've both known each other for as long as I can remember and that was pretty much the end of it. I also told my daughter that she didn't do anything wrong. Everyone else was either talking to me or not so subtly talking about it behind my back. My daughter didn't hear any of that. She was just bored and felt uncomfortable because there wasn't anyone other than me and the younger of the nieces for her to talk to or play with. Like I said, I was ready to just leave when she was taken upstairs to play. Ultimately her afternoon was fine. She was sad because she knew the party was for Gigi, as she calls her, and that she didn't even get to say hi. Commenter 3, this is the consequence of sheltering young people and not letting them have normal romantic interactions so they can frame what is and isn't a good relationship. I think that because she's barely been allowed to have these relationships before, she's really keen to get married because it's the only way she'll be allowed to experience it. Reply, I totally agree in certain upbringing but I'm not totally sure it applies here. While my family is religious, it's not in a controlling way. We've all been encouraged to free thinking and she's seen examples from some of us choosing to make our own way and choosing to experience love and relationships in the way we wanted to. And our family doesn't judge us for those choices. Plus she's grown up with me and I'm pretty much as vocal as it gets about the benefits of exploration and intimacy. She chose to maintain her faith while living independently during college and from what I understand so did he. She got to live independently during college thanks to scholarships. She's back at her parents' house because she's broke and unmotivated and their rules are more there because they need to maintain schedule and boundaries for the sake of their younger daughter's special needs. OOP on her niece and the fiance's plans after graduation and wedding. Reply, they got a one-bedroom apartment lined up that had to be consigned by a parent. He also had a conditional offer from the place that he interned with during school pending his graduation, which just happened last weekend. Yes, their wedding and his graduation are only 2 weeks apart. No, none of us went to his graduation. So after their honeymoon he should have a big boy job. Why was OOP's daughter the only child invited to the bridal party? Reply, I did not. It kind of seemed like a wires cross situation. SIL with the little nieces was told not by SIL who is mother of the bride, but I was told yes by the bride, so my guess is just poor communication between the two of them. Additional information from OOP after reading comments. So to address a few things I've noticed popping up. The reason the fiancé was invited to family dinner was my mom. We, her children, have asked her to stop inviting him to things because he always inevitably ruins the atmosphere, but she is a part of the generation where family always gets another chance and you do everything to keep the peace. We are slowly but surely helping her to establish and keep healthy boundaries, but she was also holding on to hope that she would be gaining a grandson and not be losing a granddaughter. My niece is absolutely contributing to the problem. She did not used to be this way. As I've said before, we were good friends. She's the godmother to my kids and was in both my weddings. I noticed her becoming more self-centered as she gained independence in college. I hoped it would get better, but it's gotten worse, contributed to by the dipshit and his family. I'm trying to find the balance in letting her know I love her and that if she's in trouble or needs help that we are here, but that her current attitude and actions are unacceptable and unsupported. Sometimes she does acknowledge that he's rude but also has an excuse lined up like school stress, internship workload, bad day sort of stuff. Always comes back to he's a good guy and we just don't know him well enough. I think my brother is in denial and doesn't want to admit that his daughter is getting into a bad thing. He's full of all the excuses too, i.e. introverted, not comfortable with large groups, stressed, tired, smart to the detriment of social skills. We've heard it all. Kind of hard to ignore when your whole family decides not to show up to the wedding though, so maybe it'll kick some sense into him. He was very angry when I sent him screenshots of the texts between his daughter and our mom though, so I'll give him props for that one. Stories number 10. Aita for secretly hoping my dad's wife doesn't make her kid move out so he'll finally divorce her. I, 26F, am not my dad's wife's biggest fan. Honestly, I can't stand her. They've been together since around 2021 to 2022. After my parents' divorce, my dad dated a lot but none of the relationships lasted longer than a few months. I figured this one would be the same. When I got married, I let him bring her even though they were only dating. I didn't want him to travel alone. Huge mistake. She caused drama the entire weekend, complained about not being included in hair makeup with my bridal party, threw a fit over where she was seated for the 15-minute ceremony, and got wasted before it even started. She had to be escorted back to her room while crying hysterically, in front of most of my guests. Thankfully, she came back and didn't cause more issues, but then played the victim when I didn't want to talk to her afterward. 4 months later, we found out they got married before they even got engaged, without telling me or my sister. That was a slap in the face. I thought I was close with my dad. We tried to be supportive, but it still hurt. Since then, it's been pretty obvious she doesn't like us. She acts weirdly territorial, like she's competing with me for my dad's attention, which is disturbing. Constantly touching him when I'm around, basically sitting in his lap. I can't call him when he's with her because she listens, and she always has excessive amounts of cleavage showing as if I'm a threat. That's my dad, so I definitely not a threat. That's disturbing. She also made it clear her kids come first. Her 2 kids, college-aged, still live at home and treat my dad like he doesn't exist, rude, disrespectful, and she allows it. Meanwhile, she's done subtle things to push my sister and me away, like having different rules for her kids versus my sister when she lived with them and always needing to be around when we hang out with our dad. Her kids didn't talk to my sister the whole year they all lived together. She buys everything for her rude kids and they both barely work. Her daughter gets monthly facials and massages while my sister and I have never had that luxury in this economy. My sister and I are the problem and her kids are the exception. She made sure that if something happened to my dad, my sister and I now have to split everything with her kids, even though her kids don't like my dad. She inserts herself in conflicts between my dad and us, as if he needs protection from his own daughters. I've snapped at her for this before. It's hard to put into words, but as a woman I can tell when another woman doesn't like me and my dad's wife does not like me. She calls herself our stepmom, which feels like a joke. I was already married when they met. She didn't raise me, and now she's calling herself grandma to my kid. No, he already has 2 biological grandmas. Now the current situation, my dad told me he gave her an ultimatum: her oldest needs to move out, or he's moving out. She promised her kid would leave soon. He truthfully doesn't seem happy and has said stuff like she's a bad mom and that he regrets moving in with her and her kids. And here's where I might be the I kind of hope she doesn't follow through. I hope her kid stays, so my dad finally hits his limit and divorces her. I miss having a relationship with my dad. I want him back, the version of him before she came along and turned everything into this toxic mess. So, Reddit. Aita for wishing that her kid doesn't move out so their marriage falls apart. Edit. My sister made her own post to add context and I linked it in the comments. Stories number 11. On the 15th of April I found a yellow post-it note in a handwriting that wasn't mine on my desk reminding me of some errands I had to do, but told literally nobody about. While odd, I chalked it up to something I did in my sleep, thinking maybe in my half-awake state I scrawled it so it didn't appear to be my handwriting. I threw it out and thought little of it. On the 19th, I found another post-it note on the back of my desk chair, in the same handwriting as the previous note, telling me to make sure I saved my documents. I was freaked out, but there were no other signs of a break-in, so I set up a webcam in my house aimed at my desk and used a security cam app for it to record after detecting movement. On the 28th, I woke up to find another post-it note, this one saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." I immediately checked the webcams folder on my computer and found nothing from the night before, but my computer's recycling bin had been emptied, which I am certain I did not do recently, indicating someone had noticed the webcam and deleted the files. They were just saved straight to a folder on my desktop called webcam. Today, on the 1st of May, I found another post-it note, this time on the outside of my door, with nothing written on it, and there also appeared to be post-its on many other doors in my apartment complex, all blank, in varying colors. Do I have any legal recourse here? I have no proof except for the post-its, but those are written by my pen and on my post-it notes, so conceivably I could have faked them. Would contacting the police get me into any trouble, if they can't determine an outside source for this? I just want to make sure I'm not wasting anyone's time. Should I consult my landlord? Those also living in the complex. Edit. I pulled up a letter I received from my landlord back when I moved in, and the handwriting is identical. Could this count as evidence? Consensus. Commenters tell OOP they believe he is writing the notes himself and to go to a doctor. They also tell him to test his apartment for carbon monoxide. Notable comments. Commenter. You seem sincere and this doesn't appear to be the plot of a Ray Bradbury short story. It's possible that your landlord is leaving notes inside your apartment, but they don't make any sense in the context you're describing them. It's likely that you are writing the notes yourself, but you are forgetting. Do you use post-it notes as reminders in any other parts of your life or job? Yes, this might be a mental health issue. You might be experiencing some sort of dissociative disorder, or it might be a physical problem. You mentioned that you have a very unusual narrow bedroom with no windows. Is there a chance that you are not getting enough ventilation when you sleep, or that there is a carbon monoxide leak in the building? A cheap CO detector, which you should have anyway, is a fast way to find out. You'll also have really bad headaches. You know your own medical and mental history and your other experiences. If you think these incidents might be you, writing notes to yourself, there's no shame in getting somebody qualified to give you an opinion. Reply: I have had really bad headaches. And I actually already do have a CO detector, guess I should probably take that out of its box and plug it in. Commenter: seeing a doctor should be your priority for 2 reasons. You could be having a serious mental or neurological problem, and even if you're not, that will probably be the police's first thought. If you have a general practitioner, make an appointment ASAP. They'll be able to get the ball rolling and make appropriate referrals. Bring in the notes and the sample of your landlord's handwriting so your doctor can look at them. Commenter: I feel like I'm reading a Philip K. Dick novel. Update: thanks to everyone who sent suggestions and gave advice on how to proceed, especially to those who recommended a CO detector, because when I plugged one in the bedroom, it read at 100 ppm. TLDR, I had CO poisoning and thought my landlord was stalking me. Stories number 12. Aita for telling my friend she has to pay double if she wants to pay for 2 people. Here's the story. Basically, my friend, let's call her Ashley, and I are going on a trip with 3 other people, Jess, Emily, and Sam. Ashley and I were discussing what the cost of splitting up prices were going to be like for the hotel. I booked our hotel, and since there's 5 of us going, I told her it's going to be split up into 5. Well, Ashley says she's paying for her friend, Jess, and wants it to be split up into 4 because even though Jess is going, Ashley is the one paying for both, and her friend isn't paying her back for it. I personally don't think that's fair to me, Emily, or Sam. Ashley is choosing to pay for her friend's hotel part. The way I see it, splitting it into 4 only benefits Ashley and Jess because she doesn't have to pay a penny, not me, Emily, or Sam because we'd be paying more than we should just because Ashley is paying for 2. But she's combining 2 into 1 because it's just her paying. If this is confusing at all, here's a mini breakdown of fake prices. Total of hotel, $100. 5 people equals 5 payments, $20 EA. How Ashley wants to do it. 5 people equals 4 payments, $25 EA. Because she's paying for 2 people, including herself, but she's only counting them as 1. That would mean me, Emily and Sam have to pay more than what we're supposed to owe. I don't think this is right. The way she wants to do it makes it to where Sam, Emily, and I are also paying for Jess's part, not just Ashley. I'm pretty sure Ashley is upset with me because I told her that it needs to be split into 5 to make it fair for everyone else and she's not really been talking to me. So Aita. Update. First of all, I want to thank everyone who responded and for the tips. I made the post to make sure I was thinking correctly, even though I truly couldn't make sense into what Ashley wanted to do, but I mainly posted it because my friend wasn't talking to me so I thought I might have been the AH. Putting out there that everyone going on this trip are young adults ranging from 18 to 22. Ashley and I are 21. I noticed a lot of people misunderstood my post. So I'm gonna clarify a few things. Jess was going on this trip whether Ashley pays for her or if she pays for herself. She was always going to come and is an original member of the group that's going. I had just gotten the news that Ashley is deciding to pay for her share of the hotel. But Jess isn't paying Ashley back. So I think Ashley got confused because since there's only 4 people paying, she thought the bill should be split up into 4. But that's not how the bill should be split up. It should be split by however many people are staying, not paying. Because Ashley is choosing to pay for Jess. She doesn't have to do that. The prices I used in my post were fake prices to make it simpler to explain. The actual cost of the hotel was way more than the examples I used. Something I forgot to mention is that Ashley and I have never had an issue splitting up bills before, so I thought this was extra weird of her to try to pull. We've just never had this problem before. Also, a lot of you were saying this will be a continuous problem during the trip, like for food or anything else. But whenever we've been on trips before and ordering food or whatever, usually we order separate, so that shouldn't be a problem during this trip. Another thing I didn't mention in the original post was that the hotel room states it sleeps 6 people. There's 2 full-size beds, and a sofa bed. I don't care if this is really that important, but a lot of people were asking. Jess and Ashley would be sharing a bed, and most likely me and Emily will share a bed because Sam made it very clear that she wants the sofa bed, lol. But I do not think it should be split up by beds or sleeping arrangements because we're all sharing the same space. Also, something I didn't mention was Ashley said she was only paying for Jess' hotel part and that anything else was coming out of Jess' pocket. Now for the actual update. I've talked to both Emily and Sam about it and both agree it should be split 5 ways, and if one person wants to pay for another person then they have to pay double. Neither of them are comfortable paying the extra because they don't know Jess very well, if at all. I also tried to explain to Ashley with examples like if I'm paying for Sam and Emily then it would be split up into 2, and you're paying more for just 2 people than I am for 3, and then explain to her that it just wouldn't be fair if I did that to her. I also emphasized that the way she wanted to do it makes it to where everyone is paying Jess's share, not just her. I was not gonna back down until she got it, and she finally says that makes sense now, and she apologized. And I mean, I'm happy she's finally understanding how it's not fair to do it her way, but it's still annoying that I had to use an Uno reverse card and use her logic against her to make her understand. It should have made sense from the very beginning, but it's whatever. I'm hoping this whole situation won't make the trip any awkward, but it's 2 months away, so hopefully everything will die down and we'll have a blast. If anything else crazy happens, I'll be sure to update you guys. Thank you again for all the replies and support. Stories number 13. Aita for not letting my boyfriend bring his mom to my birthday dinner. Hey y'all. I, 26F, Kayla, have been dating my boyfriend, Jamal, 28M, for a little over 2 years. We're serious, live separately, but spend most weekends together. Overall things are good, except for one thing, his mother. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not one of those me or your mama type of women. I respect family. But Jamal's mom, Miss Carla, is in everything. She calls him multiple times a day, shows up unannounced, and makes little comments about how no woman will ever take care of him like she does. I've been polite, respectful, but it's exhausting. I don't even think she dislikes me, she just sees me as competition. So here's the issue. My birthday was last weekend, and I planned a dinner at a nice rooftop restaurant with my close friends and siblings. I wanted it to be low-key, fun, and drama-free. I invited Jamal, obviously, but only him. About 2 hours before the dinner, he texts me, "Hey, my mom's coming with me, cool." I didn't even know she was in town. I texted back, "I'd prefer if it was just us tonight, babe. This is something I planned with people I'm close to." He hit me with, "Wow, seriously? It's just dinner." She wanted to come support you. I told him no. I said it wasn't about disrespecting her, I just didn't want my birthday turning into an awkward third-wheel situation. He ended up not coming at all. Now he's mad, saying I embarrassed him and hurt his mom's feelings. Miss Carla posted some passive-aggressive stuff on Facebook like some people don't know how to appreciate others who genuinely care for them and God don't like ugly. So now I'm wondering, was I being selfish? Aita for not letting my boyfriend bring his mom to my birthday dinner. Update, so after reading the advice you guys gave me, I've decided to break up with him. I called him and let him know that things aren't going to work out. He cried and I felt sad, but I had to let him go. Now he keeps blowing up my phone. I blocked him. I work at a design firm, professional setting, front desk, glass doors and all that. He came with flowers, saying he wasn't going to be blocked out of my life. He caused a scene when the receptionist wouldn't let him back. I was mortified. My manager had to talk to him and ask him to leave. Now he's blowing up my best friend's phone, saying I humiliated him, made his mom feel cast out, and that I'm being cold and dramatic. Miss Carla's back on Facebook talking about, some girls think they're wives when they're still just a test drive. Should I press charges? Things aren't getting out of hand and scary. Stories number 14. All signs point to my, F27, husband, M27, having cheated on me. Friends agree. He says he didn't. My husband and I have been together for 6 years. We've been married for 3, almost 4. He will often take my phone to use the camera or Google something if his isn't nearby. He doesn't ask first, which I didn't mind because at the beginning of our relationship, we both said we were okay with the other borrowing our phones. When I try to do the same, he's always taken his phone away before I could use it. I always made excuses until last night. Last night, I asked him a question. He told me to give him a minute because he was busy doing something. While I waited, I saw one of our cats was being cute, so I reached to take his phone for a picture since I left mine in a different room. He practically ran over to take his phone away from me and I asked why. He said he was going to buy me a surprise present and didn't want me to see. When I didn't believe him, he instead said he wasn't comfortable with me looking at his phone. I was clearly hurt and asked if I could check his phone to reassure myself since he reacted so strange. He said no. I walked away to get some space. He didn't try to follow. Hours later, my friend suggested he and I go through his phone together, which he agreed to. Keep in mind this was hours, so he could have potentially had time to delete any evidence there may have been. We were going through his phone and it was a little strange. He's the type of person to never close out of apps fully. He also has dozens of tabs in Google all the time. There were no open apps and no Google tabs at all. In our years of relationship, this has never happened. He always has apps tabs until last night. Other than that, all seemed well until I saw he had a Snapchat conversation with a female friend of his that I've voiced worry about before. The first, and only, time I met her, we were in a small group. She walked right up to him and started a conversation. She ignored me, even though I was right next to him. He didn't introduce me to her, either. One of our friends jokingly called out their behavior by saying, "Aren't you going to introduce your wife?" He laughed it off and introduced me after a few seconds of hesitation. He didn't call me his wife, just said this is, name, and nothing else. He was really quiet the entire night while she was trying to non-stop talk to him, even though she invited her own BF as well. That night was 6 months ago. When we got home, I asked if they ever had a romantic or sexual thing together. He said no. Last night, he revealed they did. He said it was before our relationship and he never said anything because he was ashamed. His reasons for being ashamed: they hooked up during a low point in his life and this friend is his brother's ex-GF. He says there was no overlap between them and our relationship. In scrolling through the Snapchat conversation, there were things that she had saved in chat. I immediately saw NSFW memes he sent her. Things like this could be us with a picture of a guy resting his head on a girl's butt. I asked why he sent that and he said he just thought it was funny. I asked how and he just said, funny again, this time with hesitation. Scrolling more revealed she sent him nudes a little over 2 months ago. She was the one to save them in chat. He didn't, but again, he could have tried to remove as much evidence as possible. Everything in this chat was saved by her and not him. He said he had no idea what the nudes were or how they got there. He also said he never noticed them. I asked how he possibly couldn't have noticed them. He then said he did notice, but ignored them because he knows she sent them on accident when drunk. I asked if he knew they were accidental or if he assumed. He said he knew, so I asked how he responded to the photos. He apparently told her to not send any in the future. She apparently never replied to that directly. He said they just continued their conversation like she never sent anything. I said, so you didn't know if they were an accident? It sounds like she didn't confirm. And he said no, he didn't know for sure, he just assumed they were accidentally sent to him instead of her BF. Notice that the drunken accident theory was changed. Scrolling back more shows that when my husband and I first started dating, her ex-BF was jealous of her friendship with my husband. Her ex said my now husband and she would flirt with each other. Another message from her confirms that he sent her a NSFW video of himself while him and I were dating. So 2 pieces of evidence that confirm an overlap, even though he said there wasn't one. He says he just didn't remember, which I could believe since it was years ago. Not too long after we got married, he also had a mysterious bruise that looked like a hickey. This was on his chest right under his collarbone. I was suspicious based on the placement. He swore it was a bruise and said he couldn't remember how he got it, but I feel like with a spot like that, you'd notice being hitting something hard enough to bruise. Like your face would probably be hit too, or at least close to being hit. Around the time I met the potential affair partner, he had another mysterious bruise. This one was above his collarbone near his neck. I know that he likes getting hickeys there. He had the same story, a bruise he had no idea how he got. I believe that's all my evidence. He swears he didn't cheat. In my eyes, the flirty memes are already a form of emotional cheating. He apologized for hurting me and says he'll do anything to regain my trust. So my question is, am I justified for thinking he cheated, even if he says he didn't? I suggested marriage counseling and he said he'd be okay with going. For those who have done marriage counseling after a potential cheating incident, did it help? Also sorry if this is all over the place. I tried to give dates rough time frames as best as I could. I also tried to make it organized, but I'm a mess right now. Edit, this got way more attention than I could have ever expected. I do plan to reply to comments when I'm not so overwhelmed. I did want to quickly add that I'm autistic. This tends to make me a lot more trusting than others. I also want to thank everyone who has commented and thanks in advance to those who will. Even if some are hard to read, any advice, not judgment, is appreciated. I genuinely didn't even think that he could have been cheating our entire relationship until it was mentioned in comments. I will also be posting an update in the future since I see a lot of people are interested in that. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my MIL that her generous offer was actually a manipulative way to control my life. Okay, so I, F30, am engaged to my fiance Mark, M31. We're getting married in 6 months. Mark's family, especially his mother, MIL, are a lot. They're quite wealthy and traditional, and frankly, MIL has a habit of trying to micromanage everything in Mark's life, and by extension, now mine. The big drama started around the wedding venue. Mark and I found this beautiful, slightly unconventional place that we both absolutely loved. It's an old, restored theater downtown, exposed brick, a bit quirky, totally us. It's also pricey, but within our budget if we make some compromises elsewhere. We were so excited. We told Mael and FIL. FIL was reserved but seemed okay. Mil. She visibly recoiled. Her dream, apparently, was for us to get married at the same exclusive country club she got married at, where all their friends have weddings. She started immediately listing all the problems with the theater venue, parking will be a nightmare, it's not sophisticated enough, what about the acoustics for the string quartet I was planning? We weren't planning a string quartet. Then came the offer. Mil sat us down and said, very formally, that while she and FIL were disappointed we weren't considering the country club, they understood it was our day. But, because the theater venue was so much more expensive than what they had budgeted for, which we never asked them to budget for, we had our own budget, they would graciously offer us a substantial sum of money, enough to cover about 40% of the theater venue cost. It sounded generous, right? Mark thought so. I was immediately wary. Mil's gifts always come with strings. I thanked them but said we had our budget covered and would be fine. Mil got this tight, almost angry look. She said, nonsense, darling. A wedding should be a celebration, not a financial stressor. We want to do this for you. She kept pushing. FIL added that it was a genuine wedding gift, no strings attached. Mark was beaming, thanking his parents profusely, saying how amazing they were. I felt cornered. Eventually, I caved and accepted, still feeling uneasy. Later that week, Mil started sending me links. Links to florists near the country club. Links to bakers who only deliver to the country club. She started asking about decor choices that would only make sense at the country club. When I gently reminded her we were having the wedding at the theater, she'd get flustered and say things like, oh, right. Well, this florist might make an exception, or it's just so much easier with vendors who know the traditional venues. The final straw came last night. We were at their house for dinner. Mil brought up the venue again. She said, now, about the ceremony flow at the theater. I was thinking it might be easier to have the reception at the country club after. Just the reception, you know, for dancing and easier bar service. I snapped. I looked her dead in the eye and said, Mil, with all due respect, this stops now. We chose the theater. We love the theater. Your generous offer wasn't about helping us, it was about buying control over our wedding to force it into being your dream wedding at your preferred venue. You didn't give us that money to help us have our day, you gave it to try and manipulate us into having your day. The table went silent. FIL looked horrified. Mark looked utterly stunned and then furious. Mil's face crumbled. She started crying, saying how could I be so cruel, that they were only trying to help, that I was ungrateful. Mark jumped up, yelling that I had massively overstepped, insulted his parents, and ruined the evening. He said I was being paranoid and that their offer was genuine and I was just being difficult and unappreciative. We left immediately. Mark is barely speaking to me, saying I owe his mother a huge apology and that if I can't be respectful to his family, maybe we need to rethink things. Mil is apparently distraught. Part of me feels justified because I truly believe her gift was manipulative and a way to leverage control. But another part of me is reeling from the fallout. Did I handle it badly? Should I have just accepted the money and ignored the suggestions? Was I too harsh? Aita for calling out my Mil's offer as manipulative control instead of just accepting it quietly. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, your fiance is an idiot, but he's been manipulated by his parents his entire life so he cannot see the forest for the trees. You did right by sticking up for yourself against her passive-aggressive behavior. Just know that it will never end. Consider that if you continue with the relationship and wedding. Reply, thank you for telling me what I needed to hear. Commenter 2, info, are you sure the venue you chose is what your fiancé wants? He might be using his mother to make his point if he's turned his anger on you here. Reply, he has never suggested otherwise and has been enthusiastic talking about the venue I chose. Update, it has only been 2 days since that dinner, but it feels like everything has unraveled. Mark and I barely spoke after we left his parents' house. I tried to explain where I was coming from again, calmly this time, but he shut down. He said I embarrassed him and hurt his mother. He kept repeating that I was being dramatic and ungrateful. It felt like I was talking to a stranger. Then yesterday, I found out something that broke me. A friend of mine saw Mark having lunch with another woman. At first, I told myself it was probably innocent. I wish it had been. But when I confronted him, he admitted it. He has been seeing someone else. It started a few weeks ago. And the worst part? It was someone his mother introduced him to. Someone from her country club circle. She kept telling him this girl came from a better family and was more compatible with the kind of life they had planned for him. He said it was not serious. That he was confused. That I had been so angry all the time and he felt pushed away. I could not believe what I was hearing. I asked him if he ever truly wanted to marry me, or if I was just the easy choice until his mother pushed him to upgrade. He did not answer, so I ended it. I packed a bag and left. We had not sent out invitations yet. The venue can still be cancelled, mostly refunded. What hurts most is not losing the wedding. It is realizing I was trying to fight for someone who would not fight for me. Who let his mother control him to the point that he let her hand him a replacement. I am heartbroken. Angry. Numb. But somewhere deep down, I also feel relieved. I would rather walk away now than stay and become someone small enough to fit inside their picture-perfect frame. Thank you to everyone who commented before. You helped me see that I was not imagining things. That I was not crazy for wanting to protect the life I was trying to build. TLDR, I stood up to my MIL. 2 days later, I found out my fiance was cheating on me with a woman his mother introduced him to. I ended the engagement. I am devastated, but I know I just dodged a life of being treated like I was never enough. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, you didn't lose a partner, you lost a puppet and his puppeteer. Proud of you for choosing peace over performance. Best wishes OP. Reply, thanks for this. I appreciate your words. Stories number 16. AITA for calling my grandparents failures as parents, grandparents and people when they blamed my mom for my dad's kids going into foster care. My dad cheated on my mom when I was a toddler, and when my mom found out about it she filed for divorce. My dad's mistress was already pregnant by that point and it made things tense, though I don't remember too much of them interacting. My dad and his second wife, the mistress, had 2 kids together. When I was 6 my dad got arrested for assaulting the guy my mom was dating at the time. And I mean he brutally assaulted him. He was arrested on the scene and charged pretty fast. His wife dumped the kids on my grandparents and ran off. I guess they found out later she had died, but I'm not totally sure on when they found that out. I don't even know why they never kept my dad's other kids, but I know CPS got involved and put the kids in foster care. And I know my grandparents looked for my mom to take them in and raise them with me. My mom refused and that was the end of it. They spent a lot of years in foster care. My dad served time until I was 16 and then he was released. He got the other kids back after a year or 2 of working with CPS, or something. Don't ask me all those details, I just know what my grandparents said. I haven't seen or had any contact with him since I was 6 and that's the way I plan to keep it. A couple of times he almost went back inside because he was harassing my mom and even threatened her one time. I'm 19 now. I don't have much contact with my grandparents, but the last 2 times I heard from them we fought. They were saying all this nasty shit about my mom and blaming her because dad's kids were abused by several foster families and were left with all kinds of trauma. They said mom was gross and disgusting for letting them go into care. And they said the fact I hadn't spent any time with the kids at all since my dad was arrested is further proof that she's a disgrace to motherhood and personhood. I think they expected me to hate my mom like they do, to agree with them. But I don't, and it pissed me off that they were blaming my mom. So the second time they started that shit I told them it was not my mom's responsibility to take in those kids and raise them and there were loads of other people to blame. They told me I should not defend my mom and again said she was a failure as a mother. They said if she had loved me she would have wanted me to be raised with my siblings, and the fact I don't even call them that is loudly showing her failures. They said if she loved me she would have loved them for me and raised them and kept them safe. I told them if they wanted to assign blame they should look at the people actually in those kids' family, starting with dad, their mom and them. I said all 3 of them had a duty to the kids, my mom didn't. I said they were the failures. They were failures as parents to raise dad to be who he is, failures as grandparents for letting their grandkids go into care, and failures as people for blaming others for what their son ultimately set in motion. They got offended and scolded me over the phone. I ended up hanging up on them, but from what I got they said I lacked empathy and compassion. Aita. Stories number 17. I, 31M, told my girlfriend, 30F, that she is not a trophy wife or status symbol and that we are similar in attractiveness. She views it as me calling her old and ugly. A bit of background: my girlfriend and I are 30 and 31 respectively. We have been dating for about a year. I work as a high-level engineer at a good firm and my girlfriend works as a payroll specialist at a good firm too. I make significantly more than her, 3x. Things were good in our relationship until I showed her my retirement savings. She now doesn't see the point of working and has started framing our relationship in that she is the beautiful one and that I am the nerdy engineer that was lucky to have her. Before, when we met, she was all about making it her own way, eventually starting her own company with her sister in sourcing and recruiting. But now she jokes about driving a Range Rover and wearing Lululemon and going to yoga. We were having a discussion again about this trophy wife stuff. She brought up that I was nerdy back in the day while she was very popular. I told her she is not a trophy wife, that yes she is attractive but it's not a huge difference between us. I told her had it been the case that I met her when she was 22 and I was my current age then sure, but she isn't 22 anymore. After I said that she just started crying like crazy. She started saying that I think of her as ugly and used up, that her best years are behind her. She just told me that if I am not happy to be with her, why am I even here? To stop wasting her time. I tried to talk to her, but she was in no state for a conversation. I don't know what to say, guys. For me, I just wanted to say that I think we are of similar attractiveness. Like, I don't think anyone when they see us turns their head and is like, oh, she is with him because of money. Or damn, he is so lucky to be with her. I think it's mutual. She was the one that if anything went after my attractiveness first. What should I do? I like the fact that we both work and I don't want to change that dynamic. And I don't want her to think too that she is above me, that I am so lucky to have her. I want her to think of us as equals, and in my attempt to do that I hurt her feelings. What's the next move? TLDR, ever since my girlfriend found out about my savings, she has more often entertained the idea of being a stay-at-home wife. She has tried to bring up the fact that she was more attractive than me as justification why I am so lucky to be with her and why I should accept this. Top comments. Commenter 1. This seems to be a very textbook case of psychological projection. Because of your discrepancy in salary, she likely feels like she is worth less than you. She likely feels like her best years are behind her, seeing as you took off and are only going up. Her poking around about her being a trophy wife is her seeking validation that she is not worthless and that you still value her, and her financial contributions are nothing to be ashamed of. I don't think she is a gold digger. I think she is taking some hits on her self-esteem, through no fault of her own. I think some counseling would go a long way here. Edit. Thank you all for your awards and replies. I appreciate the recognition, smiley face. There is a lot to unpack for both the OP and his girlfriend in this situation, but the point is that is worth unpacking. Cheers. Commenter 2. I think that the trophy wife nonsense started when she found out how inadequate her money is compared to yours. She was ambitious, she wanted success and was confident in her achievements. When she found out that your income created something that she wanted to accomplish but is now realizing that she may never get that type of money success, I think it sent her into a midlife crisis. Her new perspective demonstrates her desire to be the best at something. The trophy wife you kind of described above is a new visual successful image to her. She has money, is beautiful, can wear the name brand clothes, do yoga, and has a husband who appreciates her for her looks because she is popular. These examples show that she wants to be appreciated and successful in some aspect of her life. I think she is going the superficial route because she feels like she hasn't achieved the success she wanted at her age. She isn't as financially successful as you, her job has probably peaked in salary, and she needs to feel needed, appreciated and better than you in some way. Update. Hey guys, so thank you all for sharing your responses. I tried my best to read through them all, saw a lot of interesting perspectives. My only gripe with them was the fact that so many of the posts ignored so much relevant information. I had some long DMs with some people in similar situations which were super helpful. A couple things I want to add. To the people that said my girlfriend was a gold digger, she has really climbed her own way from university to where she is now and has a good work ethic. Like, this is not just someone that their whole life. Also to the people that said my girlfriend lost motivation after seeing my wealth, she has dated guys that made more than me. Overall, I wanted my girlfriend to feel special, that she is the most beautiful woman in the world, but I don't like it that she is above me. That she is on a pedestal. And that I am this inferior engineer. We had a discussion and things honestly just got worse. I tried to talk to her, but she was just bringing up the worst things I said to her without any of the context of her basically calling me ugly. Also, she brought up too that my dad was awkward as hell. She brings up my comment about me saying that she would be a trophy wife at 22 but not at 30. She goes on to say that all the engineers she has met have a chip on their shoulder for not getting laid when they were in college. And she goes on to start saying that bitterness is coming out, thinking that they are entitled to a hot young girlfriend because they couldn't date them in college. And that is why I made that comment, trying to tear her down. I just got frustrated, so I was like, yeah, I agree. I never was able to get the hot girl in college, and even with all the money I make still can't get them now. So, unfortunately, I have to go second-hand and with a couple of wrinkles. Again, this just set things off, where she called me a misogynist for calling her second-hand. Said that I treated her like a used car. And pretty sure when she tells her friends about our fight, that's what she will tell them. I don't know what to say. It was just ridiculous, like she started this whole thing that I can't get the girls I supposedly really want. Like she is the one making this whole dating thing into have and have nots. So if you want that analogy, I will play that analogy too. I just agreed with it, and now I am the bad guy. I don't know what to do. She will say 10 bad things about me, that I was ugly, that I am lucky to be with her. But when I respond, she blows up and storms out. I don't know what the hell to do. Like, we had fights before, but this just seems to be impossible. We had decent communication before, but now it's trash. I don't know what to do. Like I am more than open to a talk without putting each other down, but she really wants me to be in some subservient position. I don't know, maybe in her past relationships she had that power over guys. Where they were like, OMG, I am dating someone so attractive. But I am not okay with that. I don't know what she wants at this point. It seems like she is looking for a reason to break up. I know some people are saying break up, but I really was hoping to settle down soon. I hate the idea of starting from scratch all over again in dating. Like we had so many amazing times together, and a good idea of the future. I was excited, someone beautiful and ambitious, and I got along with well. Now, this? 2 months ago we were talking about rings, how many people we would have at our wedding. Whether we will send our kids to private school or not. Please send me your analysis of the situation. If there is something from the female perspective I don't understand, please tell me. I don't want to let this go without putting in my all. But I am not going to be in a subservient position. What should I do? How can I handle this properly? TLDR, we tried to have a conversation about our past argument. My girlfriend just blew up on me. She insulted me, so I continued her insult to insult her back. Top comments. Commenter 1. Yeah, this relationship is over. There's no bouncing back from this. Commenter 2. Unfortunately I have to go secondhand, has yikes stamped on it in 104-point font, man. Stories number 18. Boston Public Library denying sick leave. Boston Public Librarian and Professional Staff Association, PSA, MLSA 4298 member Eve has been with the Boston Public Library for 12 years and is deeply committed to her work. In 2019, Eve was diagnosed with breast cancer. Today, her diagnosis is stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, a terminal diagnosis. Since her diagnosis, Eve has had to rely on the hours donated by our union to the Extended Sick Leave Fund, or sick bank, after she's used all of her own leave. She needs these hours to be able to attend doctor's appointments and pursue treatment without loss of pay. In November 2024, Eve submitted a request to the union's Extended Sick Leave Fund Committee. They approved the request. Boston Public Library denied it. On Tuesday, January 14, members from PSA and AFSM 1526, who represent library assistants, clerical, and mechanical personnel at the Boston Public Library, delivered a petition to President David Leonard and the Board of Trustees signed by over 200 staff members demanding Eve be granted her requested hours from the sick bank. We received no response. Denying her time from the sick bank will not make Eve's illness go away. It will not make her need any less time off for doctor's appointment, treatments, or days where she simply cannot get out of bed. It will just make sure that while she is worrying about eventually dying of cancer, she'll also have to worry about paying rent. Please consider adding your name to the petition to show the first public municipal library in the United States that their actions are reprehensible and horrifying. Edit. After multiple written and verbal public comments, 2 of which weren't even from our own library system, the Board of Trustees Chair Dr. Liu simply stated, "It is a long-standing policy of the board to not respond to personnel comments." Perhaps he said this because we had media presence. Perhaps not. Some board members were looking at their phones when we were giving our comments. Many actively avoided us after the meeting was adjourned. They refused to make eye contact, and many scuttled out of the room quickly. It has been a day and a half with no word from management. Comments. Commenter 1. This is horrible and I'm definitely going to sign this petition. Do you know if she's applied for FMLA? I'm not an expert on benefits, but I believe she should be able to apply for that. She should also reach out to the Beasties. They're a national organization and has an outreach program to help people with stage 4 metastatic cancer. Commenter 2. Yes, I believe she's gone through her allotted FMLA maximum benefit as well as personal sick time. The bank comes from our personal sick time that the city gives us every year, so it's not like the city even has to pay. It's just a terrible situation and sets a precedent for other city departments. Commenter 3. She should absolutely apply for PFML if she hasn't already. It is a very straightforward process. Complete a short online application with basic info and have your physician's office fill out other forms. It was incredibly beneficial to me when I was managing my own serious medical condition. Everyone pays into this program already through payroll deductions, so take advantage of it when needed. Commenter 4. She may not qualify for PFML. Cities were able to opt out of it for their employees without providing any alternative options. I'm not sure about BPL employees specifically though. Commenter 5. Municipal employers need to opt in. My understanding is that no MA municipal employers have chosen to opt in. Commenter 6. You are correct. Commenter 7. She has active FMLA which offers job protection for up to 12 weeks of unpaid time in annually. The library offers no options for opting into short or long-term disability insurance, and because it is a municipality, is not required to honor the paid family medical leave protections that are offered for other citizens and employees in the state of MA. Once she uses her 35 hours of sick leave each year, any time away from work is unpaid. Leadership has referred to her as a burden on the library, and over the years of her illness has prevented her from taking reasonable accommodations, including refusing to allow a remote work schedule that would allow her to manage side effects from treatment with dignity while still being able to perform her work and contribute her expertise to her department. The denial of this grant of sick bank hours is one in a pattern of ongoing behaviors and actions taken by the library leadership, particularly Beth Prindle and supported by Library President David Leonard, which violate the both letter and the spirit of the laws designed to protect employees with disabilities. Eve is only one of many BLP employees with cancer diagnoses who this leadership team has retaliated against when they have attempted to utilize leave options to maintain their livelihood while battling serious illness. The BPL not only needs to grant access to sick bank hours, but should be called upon to provide mechanisms for employees to access paid leave protections through disability insurance offerings and available state protections through PFMLA. It is unconscionable that this venerated institution leaves its employees more vulnerable than they would be if they worked for Target, and nearly every other employer, in the Commonwealth of MA. Update. Anyway, I lost a full-term pregnancy when I was employed as a FT librarian at BPL, and HR didn't want to let me use my full 12 weeks of leave, I guess because I didn't have a live baby to care for. I don't care. This was despite having more than enough sick and vacation time banked to cover it. My doctor had to write me a note saying I needed time off for my mental health. This is in addition to the sexual harassment I experienced at the hands of multiple patrons and was told just go in the back room when he comes in and just tell him you're not interested. You could not pay me enough to ever work there again. I wish this woman well. This is awful. Boston Public Library not letting workers donate sick time to colleague with cancer, unions say, 1 month from original posting. Editor's note, the link to the posting has a news link. Boston Public Library employees are rallying to get approval for a colleague to use extended sick time donated by her coworkers. The effort is being led by the Professional Staff Association, one of 2 staff unions at the Boston Public Library, BPL. The union, which represents librarians, archivists, curators, conservators, and professional staff, recently set up a public petition urging the BPL's Board of Trustees to grant the employee the sick time she is trying to use. In 2019, Eve Griffin, the curator of fine arts for BPL, was diagnosed with terminal stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. After using all of her own sick days and leave, she had no choice but to rely on hours donated by PSA members to attend doctor's appointments and receive treatment, the union wrote on its website. In November 2024, Griffin submitted a request to the PSA's Extended Sick Leave Fund Committee, which the PSA approved. However, the BPL and the city's Office of Labor Relations, OLR, denied the request, according to the petition. No one who is going through cancer treatment should also have to worry about paying their bills, the petition reads. If we allow BPL and OLR to decide that a member shouldn't be granted the hours from our sick bank now, what is to stop them from denying all of our requests in the future? The Board of Trustees cited operational constraints in a letter explaining its reasoning for denying the request, said Ali Hahn, president of the PSA. Along with the American Federation of State, County and Municipal Workers Local 1526, AFSM, the BPL's other union, the PSA delivered a petition to BPL President David Leonard and the Board of Trustees. The petition, signed by more than 200 staff members, demanded that Griffin be granted the requested sick bank hours. The Board of Trustees has not directly commented on the controversy, citing respect for the rights of the public employees who work here to confidentiality and to the privacy of their protected health information in statements since the petition submission. We were really disappointed and let down by their response that they don't get involved with personnel matters, Hahn said. The BPL told the union that they wanted Griffin to be absent less frequently if they were to grant her request, according to Hahn. Following this additional pushback from the BPL and the Board of Trustees, the PSA went public with its efforts to get Griffin's request approved. We really did try every route prior to this before we turned to the press and turned to the public, Hahn said. At a February 4 Board of Trustees meeting, several attendees, including PSA members, delivered spoken and written comments urging the board to reverse the decision. Denying the use of the sick bank does more than harm the individual staff member who is already suffering through a catastrophic health crisis. It invalidates the very ethos of care that has driven us for over 170 years, wrote Kathleen Monahan, vice president of the PSA. If the BPL, a place that prides itself on strengthening community, is not willing to encourage mutual support in times of need, then who will? The PSA is meeting February 11 for an executive meeting to talk about next steps, Hahn said. The union is also planning to reach out to the Boston City Council and Mayor Michelle Wu's office, according to Han. We believe Eve deserves her time, she said. Comments. Commenter 1. I have always found the donation of PTO from one employee to another to be one of the weirdest parts of government work. Commenter 2. Agreed. When I worked in the federal government, an employee who had a stroke had to send out an email begging us to donate sick leave for them to use. Something about having to disclose deeply personal information so you can continue to have a livelihood during an already incredibly challenging time in your life feels shockingly dehumanizing, humiliating, and dystopian. Would expect nothing less in America though, every man and woman for themselves. Commenter 3. It's clear that management wants this person to file for disability and give up their position. Commenter 4. If somebody needs to take off over 7 weeks a year because of an ongoing illness, at least long-term disability is the appropriate thing. Sounds like an awful situation. Commenter 5. It really is. And our employer, technically the city of Boston, doesn't offer disability as a benefit. Boston Public Library employee still has no sick leave. Hello, friends. Some of you may remember a few months ago a couple of posts I made across various subreddits about a terminally ill colleague at the Boston Public Library. Though there has been progress, she still has not been offered a fair resolution or been compensated for her time. So we're upping the ante. We are rallying the public again. If you live in Boston, please consider joining our email campaign here, which will automatically send a letter to your city councilors. If you do not live in Boston, please feel free to copy and paste the below letter and email it to 311@boston.gov. Solidarity, my friends, and let us know how we can support you. 2. Comments. Commenter 1. I'm not defending this denial in any way, but I do wonder if another coworker at the library reached out with a formal grievance to the city and said they didn't agree with the use of the sick bank or something. I feel like something else is going on here that may not be so obvious, especially since there are somehow still negotiations going on. My union had a dispute like this once about a shared benefit for promotions, and it turns out the majority of the conflict wasn't between the member and management, but was because of a grievance filed by a second member. Commenter 2. These types of things do create problems because, well, people are people and they suck. This looks like a no-brainer, but the next one may not be so clear, and if you deny it, well, guess what, now it's discrimination. You call bullshit on the illness, now you are questioning an accommodation. So setting a past practice can be problematic. Commenter 3. I read the BPL Association contract and there are a lot of stipulations to using the leave bank, some of which I would be surprised if someone who is terminal ill and used the sick bank last year is able to meet. I feel awful for Eve, and if there is some sort of GoFundMe, I hope OP shares it, but it doesn't look like drawing this much time from the leave bank is legally permissible in the BPL contract. I'm surprised the association approved it in the first place, and I'm wondering if that's where someone else tried to dispute. Commenter 4. Our committee approved it, and they work so hard to make sure that everyone can get the time they need, but BPL management denied it. They can, per contract, deny it with good reason. Their reason? She is an undue burden. They have also never denied anyone previously, and she has used our sick bank multiple times. So, we have an issue with their actions because of both past practice and their reason, which is not a good reason, nor a humane one. While we want Eve to get her leave, we also don't want them to set a precedent for anyone else who may have a terminal or chronic illness. Commenter 5. There are stipulations in your contract against using the leave bank multiple times in consecutive years. Undue burden isn't a value judgment, it's a legal term, and it's probably coming from a judgment of the burden that is placed on other employees from drawing from the bank continuously against stipulations in your contract. I don't think a petition is going to change this situation. You need a contract lawyer. Stories number 19. Aita for demanding my unemployed roommate pay me back after seeing her buy a MacBook. So my 34F roommate, 32F, and I have been living together for 2 years now. We split rent 50-50 even though my room is slightly larger, but I cook more so it evens out. She lost her job last month and asked if I could pay her share of the rent until she gets a new job. I said yes since we are a friend and times are hard. Fast forward to yesterday. I come home from work and see her unpacking a brand new MacBook, $2,000+, and some clothes. I asked her where she got the money to buy this when she doesn't have a job, and she became defensive and told me her parents sent her money for her birthday. I informed her that if she can afford luxury products, she should repay me the rent I paid immediately. She claimed the money from her parents is a gift exclusively for those products and that I volunteered without any conditions. I reminded her I am not rich either and I missed a weekend getaway with my friends in order to pay her rent. She began crying and told me that I am being materialistic and do not understand her problem. I discovered this morning I received half the rent money in an envelope with a message stating she'd pay the other half when she can but won't speak to me much anymore. I don't feel I'm being unfair in demanding my money when she's spending money on non-necessities, but perhaps I should have been more compassionate. Stories number 20. I think wife, 48F, of 25 years is cheating, help, need proof or advice. 50M. TLDR, found on her phone lots of things that looks like she's having an affair, but really no proof. Read on if you've got lots of time. I'm totally new to this, and it's nice just to get this off my chest. This is going to be a very long one, and I'm not a good writer, so hang in there with me. We've been together a long time, and I think you need some history to see how we ended up where we're at. My wife and I met when we were both in college. We were both working part-time and going to school full-time, and met while we were on lunch break from our jobs. I thought she was very pretty, so I went to eat there again, hoping to see her again. She came up to me and started talking to me the next time we were both there, and I was sure she was interested, so I asked her out. We quickly started dating, and after a couple of years we got married. When we met, I was just finishing school, and the company I was working for part-time offered me a full-time management position. My now wife was still in school, and I was paying for her college 100%. I actually started paying for her college shortly after we became a couple, because she came from a very large family and they couldn't afford to help her, and working part-time she didn't have a lot either, and I was then working full-time, so I paid for her schooling. This is important later. She is very smart, brilliant, graduated with honors, and after a couple of not-so-great jobs got a real good professional job that she stayed at for many years, making good money with very good benefits. During our dating years and our early marriage we had a great sex life. We didn't have sex every single day, but when we did it was wild and sometimes very kinky. I was fairly popular in high school, captain of the football team, and college. I was in good shape, ran half marathons, etc. I guess I did okay with the ladies and had a number of partners and a one long-term girlfriend that got a little kinky. My wife, however, was much more experienced than I. She was younger than me, but had many more partners and had done much more than I sexually. She liked to party and go a little wild when she partied, so she had a bit of a well-earned reputation. I found out all about it from a mutual friend right from the start, and I was good with it. If anything, it made me like her all the more early in our relationship. She would always tell me how good I was and how I was the first person that cared about her needs and got her off. That always made me feel good, and to this day I always make sure she is satisfied before me. I'm fairly average in all ways, so I always felt the need to put in maximum effort to make sure my partner wanted me and wouldn't stray thinking they could get better sex from someone else. Sure, I'm a little insecure there. After a few years of marriage I decided to pursue a dream of starting my own sports team, and it was a real struggle to get things off the ground. My wife helped me every step of the way, and to make things even more interesting we bought a big house at about the same time. We were both working our regular jobs and now working to get this new business going. I probably didn't get more than 4 hours of sleep a night for the next 20 years, and that's not an exaggeration. Money was pretty tight at this time. Because of all the time I was spending with my new team, I changed jobs a few times and was putting a lot of my own money into the team to build it up. My wife was bringing home more money than me, and there were a few arguments about money and how much I was spending, but all in all we were rock solid. She was my best friend, wife, and lover. The team travels to events every weekend during the season, and probably 90% of the time my wife traveled with me and was by my side all the time before we had kids. Some events weren't far from home, so I would be home late that night even if she didn't go. This meant that I missed a lot of family and friend occasions. She went to many family and friends' weddings and other things solo. She even took a few trips with her single friends to the beach for a week to hang out and relax. She loves the beach. Shortly after our 5th wedding anniversary I was looking for some team pictures, and my wife told me to look in the drawers in a spare room. I found pictures of her bachelorette party. We had talked about it after, and she had told me about all the drinking and dancing, flirting with some guys, and that it was pretty innocent and tame. My bachelor party was pretty wild, and some of the wildest things were done by her brothers, so I was a fairly good boy and wasn't worried about hers at all. Well, the pictures painted a little different picture. Her maid of honor bought her a stripper and was nice enough to take pictures so she'd remember the night, I guess. There was a lot of alcohol, and the pictures showed the stripper doing his thing and my wife grinding on him, having a good time. The last photo showed him completely naked standing in front of her. She still had all her clothes on, with her hand wrapped around his junk. I was like, WTF. I took the photos and immediately showed them to her and asked WTF. She said she didn't tell me about the stripper because she didn't want me to get jealous, and that all her friends were egging her on to touch him and she was quite drunk, so she did. She swore up and down that was all that happened, and since I had done about the same at my party that same night I didn't think I could be too pissed. I was really only mad that she didn't tell me about it. She knew exactly what happened at mine, all her brothers told her. This did let me know that she could do something and leave out details when she told me and not feel she was lying at all. It always left a nagging little doubt in my head about those beach trips and if she was completely honest about them. Fast forward a few years and things were greatly improving. We waited to have kids because we wanted to be able to provide for them properly. My sports team had really started to take off and was starting to make us money instead of costing us money. We both had good jobs and we decided it was time to have kids. We had 2 children 4 years apart and everything was going great. Sports team was really taking off, winning championships, awards, etc. I started to become a little bit of a local celebrity, everyone knew who I was doing TV interviews, radio, etc. Just local and regional stuff, nothing big time, but things were going great. In fact, between my 2 children's births my wife and I were having the most sex we ever had in our relationship. Wild crazy times that we both seemed to enjoy very much. There was even some internet stuff and she was the star. Remember, she is very very pretty and a bit kinky too. This ended a few years ago at her request. These were probably the best days of my life. It is also very important to note that even though we were having some wild times, it was just the two of us. We had talked about ever fooling around and both completely agreed it was a 100% deal breaker. She told me if I ever cheated we were done, end of story. We were still very close, but I have found out very recently that after our second child was born that this is when she started resenting the sports team. She has now told me it bothered her that I was getting all the attention, awards, etc., after she had done so much work and sacrificed so much to get things going. I really didn't see it at the time. Hang in there, the part where I need your help is coming soon. Now we have children and she can't or doesn't want to bring them to all our events, so she starts traveling with the team less and less. I swear that I always ask her to go, as I really want her there with me. Fast forward a few more years and my wife's father passes away. They were very close, and he was very protective of his baby girl. Side note, he didn't like me at all at first but warmed up to me and I really liked him and respected him a lot. After a short period of time my wife announces she is quitting her job and going back to school to change careers and follow in her father's footsteps. I'm a little worried because that means I have to pay for her to go to college again, take care of 2 young kids, work my regular job, and run my team too, as she will be returning to school full time. I really wanted to support her though, because of how much I knew it meant to her and all the support she had given me starting my team. She went summers, nights, etc. to get done as fast as she could and I made it work as best as I could. The kids and I look back at these times and really think it was fun. Me picking them up from daycare, cooking, me microwaving kids' cuisine, and them tagging along to nights with the team. Things seem to be going great. Fast forward to a few years ago and we're doing so well that I say I want to take her away for a week to her favorite beach for a week, just the two of us as a second honeymoon. We didn't have a lot of money for our first one so it wasn't so great and I wanted to make it up to her. It went great, she loved the beach, and we made love more than we did on our first honeymoon. And that's when things seemed to start going bad. After that trip, even though the kids were older, she didn't want to travel with the team anymore. She started wanting to take a trip every summer to the beach, right in the middle of my season when she knew I couldn't go. She said I could come if I want but she's going either way. She said she was tired of missing out and since we were doing so well we could afford it and she was going. She'd take you kids and usually invite some of her family along, but it still makes me feel bad. She didn't get to go this year but has already told me she's going next year without me again. I don't think she's meeting anyone on these trips, but I still don't think it's a good thing. As the last few years have played out, she seems to resent my team more and more. She comes around the team so little that even friends ask what's up. If you've stayed with me for this long, the novel is coming to an end. About 2 years ago she starts talking about a new coworker a lot. Yeah, you can see where this is going. She tells me how smart he is and all the new ideas he has and how they have become friends very quickly, which is unusual as she hasn't made friends with her coworkers that much. I'm really getting bad vibes from this right from the start. Then her company is having a big company outing, taking a bus trip to a big city for a fancy dinner and show, and spouses are invited. I go partially just so I can meet this guy. He's bigger than me, around 6 feet 2 inches, but he's pretty fat and out of shape, but it's obvious to me the way he looks at my wife that he likes her. I ask her about him when we're alone and she says that they're just friends and for me not to worry, just look at him. She says, I could never be attracted to someone like that. Well, on the bus ride home she asks me not to sit next to her so she can stretch out and fall asleep as it's close to 1 a.m. Honestly, it pissed me off because I figured she'd have coworkers sitting with her in no time. She doesn't for most of the trip, about 4 hours, but for the last half hour he comes up and sits next to her and they talk the rest of the way home. Of course I ask what they were talking about and she says it's a work project coming up that they will be working on together. Of course my spidey senses are going crazy but I've got no proof anything is going on. Things actually seem to cool off for a little while as I think they both have other big projects that keep them apart, but I'm not at all sure about it. One thing is for sure, she stopped sleeping with me. She says it's my snoring, and I do snore. I offer to sleep in another room so she doesn't have to sleep on the couch. So now we're sleeping in separate rooms. Let's call that red flag number 3, but I'm not really counting. It gets worse, the sex stops shortly thereafter too. Giant red flag. She always wanted sex, but no says medical things are bothering her, the kids might hear, or 1,001 other excuses why she doesn't want to anymore. I've tried to talk to her about this a number of times and it never goes well. I try and keep my cool, but I have asked if there is someone else, because I figure if she isn't getting it from me she's getting it from someone else. Looking back, I wish I didn't say that, then maybe she would have let her guard down. Anyway, about a month or so ago, one night at about midnight her phone starts blowing up. She used to leave it downstairs at night to charge and I was going to be sleeping downstairs that night. I got lucky and figured out her password, and of course coworker is the one texting her. I stayed up the entire night reading their texts and going through her phone. It was a Friday night so I didn't have to be at work the next morning, but we did have a team event, but I really didn't care. He was texting how much he missed her and hoped they'd see each other soon. There were missing texts and conversations when things were getting more heated, and it was obvious from the conversations that it seemed like there were phone calls and other things missing as well. Like I said from the start, she is a very smart woman and you could tell she was trying to hide certain things. There were tons of I love yous, way more than I have heard in the last few years. Lots of I miss yous, I miss your hugs, blowing kisses emojis, and a lot more. Some selfies at company things together saying how cute they are and on and on. The only thing is there is not any actual talk of having sex or proof of an actual physical affair. Obviously it looks like there's one going on to me. She has the time as I work a lot and spend time with the team, and I think she thinks the motive. There's been a ton of other red flags that I think I chose to ignore until now. She's had to work late a lot the last year or so. There were a couple of trips for work, she's all of a sudden started drinking and it's quite a bit every night, and many other things. I guess my fear of losing everything I've worked so hard for kept me from blowing this up sooner. The day after I went in her phone, I asked my oldest child if coworker was married. Though he was, and my oldest has had an internship at my wife's company before the lockdown happened, so I figured they would know. They asked why and I made up some lie about seeing him on Facebook with no wife and I thought he had a wife. Said child immediately went to my wife and told her I was asking about coworker. Wife then came storming into my office and screamed at me about looking through her phone. She knew instantly why I would ask that. I guess, I'm sure I must have sent off a bunch of other signs that I was wondering if something was going on. Anyway, she went through all the things cheaters usually do. She denied everything, I took screenshots, so she only admitted to what I had proof of, which wasn't much. Blamed me for invading her privacy. Blamed me for a lot of other stuff too. Basically turning it around that I drove her to seek this close emotional friendship with him, but that was all it was. I knew I didn't have any proof of anything else, so I said I wasn't accusing her of anything, but she had to agree it looked pretty bad from my point of view and how everything was going between us. She got madder because I was so calm and wouldn't yell back and stormed out. I looked at a lot of Reddit since then and realized just how many mistakes I've made. Since that blow up, she's been hiding her phone, changed her passwords on everything, and has made sure she's not going to let me find anything else very easily. I did ask her about this and she tells me I invaded her privacy, but if I want her phone I can have it. I politely told her I know how smart she is, and if she wanted to hide something from me she's smart enough to figure out how. So where do I go from here? I just want the truth. We had one other talk, but it was more of the same. I don't want to lose everything, but if she's a lying cheater I don't want that either. The worst part is I still love her with all my heart. She's so smart, beautiful, a great mother to my kids who are both brilliant like her, tops in their class. I know I'm not perfect, I can be pretty intense, work a lot and have made many mistakes I'm sure, but I've tried really hard to give her a good life. I just want the truth, no matter if it's going to hurt or not. No half-truths or trickle the truth to me. God, this sucks. Any good advice is appreciated. Thanks in advance. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. The truth you seek is that your wife is emotionally involved with another man, she is already cheating emotionally, and, yeah, there may be reasons for that, but that's the plain fact. If you want to try and save your marriage, then I would ask her if she would consider marriage counseling rather than obsessing whether the relationship is also physical. If there is absolutely no way you could bear it if she is physically cheating and or your wife is not interested in counseling, then sure, if you have the resources, PI is the way to go. Reply. Thanks, I have asked her 3 times to go to a marriage counselor and told her I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things better between us, and she flat out refuses. Commenter 2. What was her reason for refusing counseling? Reply. She said we don't need it, we can work any issues out ourselves. To which I said let's talk about this right now and at least start working on us. She starts to yell that I don't trust her etc. each time I've brought it up. She gets mad and walks out. Update. I'll try to not drone on so 2 quick parts as I've got a few DMs asking for more updates. Part 1, we've tried to stay together and work through things. A lot of things have gone a lot better. We've had more sex in the last month than in the last year and it's been very good. After a few more rough patches she's given me total access to her phone and all social media. He still texts, etc. but she only gives very short usually one-word answers. I think he still is trying, but she's keeping her answers very short, mostly just about work. So all in all really good, right? Well, our anniversary came and I really tried to do some nice things, bought her favorite dessert, bought flowers, took time off from work to deliver them to her to surprise her, etc. She cried and cried. She said she didn't deserve it and wouldn't stop crying. She would not tell me what was wrong. This happened twice, seemed like serious guilt to me, but she wouldn't tell me what was wrong, so I'm left to think the worst. She also accused me of tracking her with GPS, which I'm not, when she was going out to lunch with coworkers. She said I'd see it on the GPS I'm tracking her with, so she wanted to let me know why she was going there. Maybe it's not a bad thing to let her think I am. She didn't give me a chance to tell her I wasn't. I just let her comments go. Then the bomb dropped last night. Part 2, she has a son that she had when she was very young, before we met, and gave him away to a very nice family. He wants to connect with my wife, his biological mother, and our children. She wants to tell our children about him this weekend and wants to let him meet his half-siblings. They have zero idea he exists, she says. She showed me his picture. I had never seen him before. He apparently looks like his father because he has no similarities to my wife. She went to a family wedding last year and talked to him when I was away. They know a lot about each other's families and have been following each other through social media. She basically says I have no say in any of this since it's her son, and I'm no relation and it's my children's half-brother. I don't know what to think anymore. Any good advice on how to handle this new revelation would be greatly appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. So did she had an affair or not? Reply. Emotional for sure. Physical I'm still not 100% sure. She won't admit to it but all signs point to yes. I'm treating it like it went that far, proof or not. Commenter 2. For things like this I think the best approach is to take it slow, for everyone's emotional well-being. Maybe you and her can take him out for lunch one day and just spend a day getting to know him, and then the kids maybe after that. Reply. He is quite a ways away, so it would have to be a planned thing to meet him. I think you're right, slow is best for everyone. This could really change how my children look at their mother. I think they always thought she was perfect. She has been a great mother, so that will never change no matter what, even if her and my relationship changes. Thanks for the advice. Update 2. To make a very long story short. We are now divorced. She wouldn't stop contact with AP. Showed no remorse, blame shifted. Never really came clean. I know in my heart I gave it my very best to save what we had. Did I make mistakes? Yes. Looking back I of course would have done things different, but it is what it is. I had enough. I lost a lot in the divorce, but it had to happen. I kept home and teams, had to give up everything else, retirement savings etc., but it was worth it. I'm good now. Still hurts to think about it, but it gets better every day. Enjoying all the things in my life again. My brother and his family have really been there for me. Thanks bro. I don't want to be too long, so if there is anything else I'll try and answer. So there's your final update. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Read your other 2 posts. Scary, you can't even trust your own kids. What was their reaction to divorce? Did they admit to knowing about affair? What's your feeling towards them? Did they meet their half-brother? Is your ex-wife with AP now? Reply. I'm still talking to my kids, but the relationship is different now. The younger one did not know anything was going on, the older I think did, but won't admit to anything on, says that they were trying to avoid conflict. I have very mixed feelings, but I still want them in my life. I was there when she told the kids. They both said they want to meet their half-brother, but as of today they have no plan on meeting him. I was amazed how they reacted. They seemed happy to hear they had a half-brother out there and didn't seem bothered at all that their mom hid this for their whole lives. Something happened, I have no idea what, and I really don't want to know, but she seems to hate the AP now. He probably dumped her now that she's single. Commenter 2. Note to self, don't get married. Stories number 21. Aita for refusing to change my children's school for husband after his ex-wife lost her high-paying job. I am 42F with 2 children 16F and 12M with my ex Danny. I have been married to Greg 44M who had a son 15M and daughter 10F with her ex Leo. We met at our children's school. Danny and I jointly fund out children's private school and they have college funds set by both set of grandparents. He is loaded. My ex and I don't like each other. But we co-parent well and want best for kids. Greg and I have decided that things we buy and treat kids equal at home. But school, college fund won't be mixed as our ex are involved. As well as gifts from ex-partners. We have had to teach kids the differences about the income when it comes to my ex-kids. Kids are nice to each other and share things. Although they definitely love their bio siblings way more. Greg and his ex jointly fund their children's education too. But Leah lost her job recently and has to downgrade. That means they can't pay for same school. They had to change school. Now he is pressuring me that his kids hate that my children go to bigger international school. And we should change school after summer. I told him that my kids' education can't be compromised, and it was clear to us that we are responsible for our children's school as well as college education. We are fighting a lot on this, and he is saying I am being too tough. He is sleeping in other room. But I won't change anything regarding my children, and my ex alone can pay for children education. If I even try to do this, and my kids will never forgive me. I love Greg, but this is the hill I will die on. I don't think he would have changed his kids' schools if this was the case on my side. Even if it means I have to lose him. I am hurting inside. But I want best for my children. Edit. I can't take solo decisions on my children's education. My ex will drag me to court and mind wash kids against me, and second stop sending SX messages. I am not interested to cheat on my husband. Update. Thanks for the feedback. I got lots of support as well as criticism. People told me I should have married rich guy again. Sorry love, don't ask for bank balance. Some said I am an evil stepmother. I pay more than half of household bills. I pay for the mortgage. I don't have much extra money left, and I have personal expenses too. Should I stop living at all? I have to dress decently at office and have to buy things for myself. And my ex will drag me to court if I even dare to change it, and my kids will hate me. I can't lose them. Anyways, update. After I made this thread, the same day I told Greg that this can't continue. I told him that my ex will never agree, nor I will agree to it. I told him that any aid school could provide to kids. He told that his ex and him asked the school and they refused. I told him that if he is going to fight me over this every day, better we split then. His expectations are going over to top. Tomorrow Danny might gifts expensive cars to our kids. Did we have to sell kidney to give same cars to stepchildren? Tomorrow he transfer business to kids. Would he expect them to give shares to stepchildren? He apologized and he said he doesn't want to leave me. He cried and we have heart to heart. Next day we invited Leah and we devised a plan. Leah also have lots of debt and she is drowning. With all salary changes and little compromises here, like 1 vacation a year rather than 2, and we can afford fees for elder stepchild. I will contribute some to it too. Greg's son who is 15 and is in 10th class. So we can afford his fees for 3 years. 10F still would need to go to cheaper school for 3 years, if Leah's and Greg's financial condition don't change. Which might change in future. But when her brother passes out in 3 years, we will transfer her back to better school again. We talked to school again and he is transferring back in few days again. Kid is happy, and even though stepdaughter is little sad, we cheered her up and will try to make up to her in other ways. I know many asked to divorce, but he isn't a bad person. Yes, he reacted harshly. But he apologized to my kids and me. This is for now. Thanks for every positive comment and suggestions. Take care. And so many creepy men send me their private pics. Please show them to your mother and sister. Edit. Also, to add people making assumptions that I am taking from my children. No, my post was about education of kids and our agreement. If I was the only one paying fees, I would have still never accepted Greg's ultimatum. I would have chosen divorce. So stop assuming. Nothing has been taken from my children's plate. And someone in very first comment said, I do bare minimum for kids and X do heavy load. X earns in millions. How could you expect me to compete? I pay for things in my capacity. I do savings for them and many other activities. If that is bare minimum, then be it. This forum people are hypocrites. If I find a solution, I become suddenly bad mother. If I don't, I am evil stepmom. My contribution is very less to stepson's private school and it doesn't affect our budget or my children's needs. Greg also do lot of things for my kids and they have good relationship, but my post wasn't about that. Final edit. Keep crying under my comments. I won't change a thing or two, lol. We all are happy with this and my children are well taken care of and stepdaughter will be back to top school after few years. People with pathetic mentality will find negatives in everything. Stay mad, chow. So you are compromise is degrading every kid's education to make equal with stepdaughter. There is no gender bias. If elder was a girl, she would have got preference over a younger brother. She will be back to top school at 13 again. Or maybe earlier. It isn't a perfect solution but a middle one. His college prep will start from next year. So he has one extra year. Stepdaughter will be back to same private school at age of 13 and will get same college prep. Here elder kid is given preference because of college chances and circumstances. A fifth class isn't important as college preparation. There is no gender bias. And yes, schooling matters here. It isn't America, where public schools are best. Private schools decide your best college opportunities, and some are saying stepdaughter will resent. If she gonna resent me in future, it's up to her. I am not going to listen to tantrums. I am doing what is possible in my capacity, and we will provide her same opportunities in 3 years. But his elder sibling's career is online. A college is more important than fifth class. As simple as that. There is no gender bias here. Only elder sibling is given more chance right now regardless of gender. Sorry if you think loving kids is being doormat. You guys were never given love. Your negative replies won't change my stance, and I know what I am doing. If you think my husband is using me, I am not here to change your mind. I know what he does for me and have done for me in my whole life. Money isn't end of world and we are happy overall. Ciao. Stories number 22. My 20m boyfriend sucked all the gas out of whipped cream canister I bought for food, lied about it to me. Where do I go from here? I don't really have anyone to tell this to in person as to not hurt his reputation. I've never confided in Reddit for personal relationship issues, but honestly I have nowhere else to turn. Me and my boyfriend have been officially dating for about a month and a half, after talking for around 6 months. He is a very considerate and caring person, and I do love him a lot. He lives pretty far from both of our workplaces, and I work full-time, so he started staying at my place the majority of the time. I buy all the groceries, and we cook together. I work early shifts and he works part-time, so he often stays in my bed after I leave for work, and hangs out at my home alone for the majority of the day. This has never bothered me as I trust him. Recently I bought a can of whipped cream for a dessert I was planning to make this week. It has been sitting in the fridge and I didn't think anything of it, until he asked if I wanted whipped cream in my coffee this morning. As I went to dispense it, it sputtered, and kind of dribbled out non-aerated cream. I was confused and he helped me troubleshoot. I joked that he must have sucked all the air out and he playfully denied. I googled a solution for the issue, and all signs pointed to him sucking the air out of the can. Still, he denied, stating it was probably expired, or that it was a malfunction with the can. I believed him, but something still felt off. About 10 minutes later, I brought it up again, and he finally admitted it. While I was at work sometime within the last few days, he opened the sealed and full can of whipped cream, and sucked all the air out, in my home. Then put it back in the fridge. He claims it was only one whippet, but being that the can is empty and he's already lied, I'm having a hard time believing it. Honestly, I have no idea what to do and my trust is pretty broken. I never would have expected him to do that, nor do it in my home, with my groceries I paid for, while I was away at work. I don't know where to go from here relationship-wise, especially since he admitted that if I didn't grill him, he probably never would have come clean. Stories number 23. I 25F accidentally rejected my friend 29M and I regret it. So I 25F just moved to this city and was honestly really grateful to have found a friend. My coworker 29M and I started getting close and he became my work best friend, having lunch and breaks together. Then eventually he started offering for me to come along to concerts, movies, etc. with his friends, and the whole time it was quite friendly, like I never got the vibe he was interested. We would even ride together sometimes and started going for runs together. We started sending each other reels or videos and just staying in touch throughout the day. Then he started coming over to my place because we started watching White Lotus together since we both liked it before, so we thought, oh, let's watch it together. But throughout all this he never alluded to anything romantic. Never touched me or flirted. Introduced me to other people saying here's my friend. For my job I often have to stay late to set things up for the next day. He started gradually offering more and more to stay and help me, even though our other coworkers would go for drinks. So he would leave himself out of things to help me. That's when I started getting the vibe. At some point I even broke down to him about how hard moving away from my family was for me. I told him how guilty I felt leaving my parents and missing valuable time with them, and also how guilty I was about leaving my 11-year-old sister and missing milestones. I'm the oldest sister if you couldn't tell, lol. He was so understanding and really talked me through it and helped me. Then one day he was helping me set up a conference room and I said, why are you doing this? Like, you are in no way obligated to do this, it has nothing to do with your job at all. He then kind of started opening the floodgates and said, well, when you like someone you do things for them. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And he said, well, in case you couldn't tell, I have feelings for you. And I was like baffled. I asked him since when. He said, well, I liked you from the moment I saw you. Which puzzled me even more, like why not just ask me out from the start? And he said, I guess I just wanted to get to know you first. Anyway, then he said, well, do you want to go on a real date? And I kind of freaked out. My fear of commitment kicked in and I just reactively declined the date and said I don't think that's a good idea. I got really scared and anxious. I've always fled when something is about to become real. Then he just shut down and it was awkward and silent until we left. Well, biggest regret, because ever since then he hasn't engaged with me. It's been 2 days and he's avoiding me hard. No texts, no eye contact. I couldn't even find him at lunch. When I finally went up to him and said, what about the date? He said, never mind, don't worry about it, and walked away. Did I miss my shot? Would he want me to push more about it? Because now that I've processed it and thought about what we could be, I'm into it. Well, if I'm being honest, I always thought he was a great guy and exactly what I needed, cause he is the more chill, soft-spoken type, and I love that cause I grew up with a very fiery dad with an extremely short fuse, so I always dreamed of finding someone who is more on my wavelength. I mean, there's a reason why we worked so well as friends, but I just didn't really think he would see me like that, like I didn't even let myself go there. I think I hurt his feelings by rejecting his date offer even though I didn't mean to. Do I still have a chance to fix this, or does it seem like I've put him off being with me? TLDR, I freaked out when my coworker, who has been my best friend for the past 7 months, said that he had feelings for me, and I freaked out and rejected him, but I regret it and think he now is out off by reaction. Stories number 24. Aita for getting upset that my sister and brother-in-law won't let me make a quick stop to pick up car parts while I'm already driving them 3 hours to the airport, for free, in their car. My wife originally agreed to drive my sister and brother-in-law to the airport. It's about a 3-hour drive one way. The original plan was to take our car and she was going to bring our kids too. No complaints from them about the mileage or using our vehicle. Last minute, my wife realized she had a scheduling conflict because she needed to take our kids to a family birthday party that same day. So I offered to step in and take them instead. Since my wife needed our car, we all agreed I'd drive their car for the trip. Now here's the issue. I remembered I had already paid for some interior car parts, door cards, carpet, trim, that are ready to pick up just 11 miles from the airport. I've got a project car and the seller's shop is right there. My brother-in-law has the same model of project car and regularly uses this seller for parts. I figured since I'd be in the area anyway, I could swing by and grab them on the way back. I mentioned this to them by saying, hey, I'm gonna pick up some parts after I drop you guys off, and they flipped out. They accused me of making plans without asking them, said they didn't want me putting dirty parts in their car, and they didn't want the extra miles on it. Again, it's 11 miles. These are interior parts, not an engine block, and I even said I'd clean up anything if there was any mess. The real kicker, they had no problem putting 3 hours of mileage on my car originally. They regularly drive around with their 3 large dogs and their Tiguan, and don't seem to worry about dirt then. But now that I'm doing them a massive favor, using my time and energy on their behalf, they're laying down rules like I'm inconveniencing them. I tried to explain that I was annoyed more by the way they shut me down than the no itself. I've bent over backwards to help them many times, help trailer vehicles, do projects, etc., and they rarely return the favor. When they do help, I always thank them, buy them dinner, or even pay them to show appreciation. But this was a hard no, no consideration, no gratitude, just like I was somehow out of line. I even said fine, I'll skip the pickup, I just want them to understand why I'm annoyed. And their response was basically, well, now the problem is how you reacted to our no, like I'm the asshole for being frustrated. So now I'm wondering if I'm overreacting. Am I the asshole for being upset about this? Edit, I haven't driven them yet, the plan is for Saturday. Edit 2, they just texted and said that they are going to pay for parking now because they didn't realize how cheap it is. Seems to me like they are avoiding conflict. But it works for me. Thanks everyone for their responses. Stories number 25. Aita for not wanting to get a job. The title sounds bad, I know, but please, wise people of Reddit, just hear me out. Also, English is not my first language, so sorry for any mistakes. My BF, 29M, and I, 27F, have been together for 3 years now, and we decided that it was time to live together. Some background information: he is an engineer working for a big company in my country and I'm a writer. I also own 2 apartments in a very popular and nice area in the city where we live that I rent for extra income. They belong to my grandparents, and as the only grandchild I inherited them when they died. Even though the pandemic hit my country hard, I did not experience any difficulties because my tenants have kept paying me rent. Therefore, my income hasn't changed at all. I'm not a millionaire by any means, but I can live comfortably just renting my properties. On to the main issue. We decided that I would move to BF's flat as it is bigger than the one I currently live in, and we agreed that we would go 50-50 on everything: rent, utilities, groceries, etc. I would do more household chores than him since I WFH, but I had no problem with this, of course. However, my BF is now saying that I should look for a real job because it would be unfair that you stay home all day doing nothing while I work. I'm currently working with my editor to finish the first novel in my series, which will consist of 3 books, so it's not like I do nothing all day. I refuse to so because 1, I have a real job, and an extra source of income, and 2, I can pay my share of the living costs without any problem. He insists that I'm being unreasonable. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA. He sounds like an ass. Reply. He is being one right now for sure. Commenter 2. Ugh, is he always so dismissive of your work? Is there long-term potential in a partner who has no respect for your vocation? Reply. He's never been like this, I don't know where this is coming from, honestly. Commenter 3. NTA whatsoever. He is being extremely rude. Being a writer is a job. You also have a steady source of income. And you don't do nothing. You work hard. He's throwing a fit. Stand your ground and explain to him that writing is absolutely a real job, you absolutely do work, you're being very fair with the chores and money, and that you will not go get a different job. If he doesn't respect that, consider if this relationship is healthy or not. Reply. Thank you, I'm starting to reconsider this relationship. I'm honestly at a loss for words right now, and it seems that this is the hill he's willing to die on. I'm going to have a long talk with him. Update. So I posted this some days ago, and a lot of things have happened since then. Of course, I sat down with my BF to talk about his sudden change of attitude towards my job as a writer, and I told him that it was very disrespectful to tell me that I have to get a real job when I already have one. I told him that I was considering ending the relationship too because of that. However, I also asked him if there was something that he wasn't telling me because this behavior was not normal at all. At first he doubled down on saying that there was nothing that he wasn't telling me, but after insisting a bit more he admitted that he was jealous of me. He said that he hates his job, this was quite a surprise, NGL, and he resents seeing me so happy and fulfilled with mine. The fact that I have another source of income only makes his jealousy worse because I'm pretty independent and can stop working whenever I want, his words, not mine. However, he said that he was willing to let me continue writing if I also work somewhere else to make things fair. I was flabbergasted, I love this word, to say the least. So yeah, I broke up with him. It hurts, but I'll live. Maybe this will give me ideas for another novel, hahaha. Thank you all for your advices and kind words, they have been really helpful. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. LMAO, I am so glad to read that you dumped him. Imagine being mad you're so is happy and then straight up coming out and saying you are willing to let her go on with an activity that is both fulfilling and a source of income, as long as she made an effort to make herself more miserable. Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. You don't need this kind of toxic, controlling BS in your life. Commenter 2. Imagine admitting to all of this jealousy, and instead of realizing how childish and ridiculous he is after saying it out loud, you still double down on making you so miserable just so it is more fair. Good on you, OP, Godspeed. Reply. To be fair, I thought about helping him with the issues with his job, but then he dropped the bomb. The audacity. Commenter 3. I'm so relieved to hear you had the strength to do the right thing and drop that loser. He sounds like he grew up being the type of kid to break another kid's toy because he's jealous that they got something nicer than him. Without him weighing you down, I predict a bright future for you. It's exciting that you are free to make new connections and expand your world beyond the limits of a toxic relationship. Reply. Thanks a lot for your lovely words. Honestly, reading all these supportive comments is helping me a lot. Commenter 4. Anytime I hear that line, that they'll let you if, just hell no. Sweetie, you're not going to let me. You don't get to tell me what to do. OP, you may be hurting right now, but you saw a major red flag and instead of ignoring it, you ran. Good for you. Now go write and PM me when you have a book or an article for me to read. Reply. Thank you so much for your kind words, they mean a lot to me and I will update you when that happens. Commenter 5. Dear OP, at the risk of stating the obvious, your next partner should be someone that respects what you do for a living. Period. Full stop. Your ex should have pursued a more fulfilling career, that was never your responsibility. Reply. Trust me, I don't think I will be pursuing any romantic relationships in a while. But of course, that's going to be the principal issue that I will discuss with my future partner. Edit. Holy shit. I was not expecting that my update would blow up like this, thank you so much everyone. And thank you for the awards. I honestly don't know how they work, but oh well. I'll try and answer to everyone who took their time to comment, it's the least you deserve. Edit 2. I know I said that I was going to answer to everyone who commented, but I'm honestly so overwhelmed with all your responses that my writing brain cannot handle everything. Ironic, I know, haha. I just want everyone to know that I'm reading every single one of your comments and upvoting everyone. Again, thank you so much for reading. Edit 3, guys, seriously, you have no idea how your amazing comments are making me feel right now. I'm sad, yes, but also overwhelmed with all these lovely messages. I honestly thought that this was not going to attract any attention, but boy, I was wrong. I hope I can make another post very soon telling you that I published my novel. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. I hope all you lovely Redditors have an amazing Christmas and I wish you all the best. Stories number 26. I caught my 24F boyfriend, 26M, talking to fandoms for the third time. He wants to get help from a therapist. I don't know if I should forgive him, but I want to because he is willing to change. My boyfriend and I have been dating for over a year and a half now, and besides this one issue, we get along swimmingly. I love this man so much and know that he loves me, but he has hurt me for the possible last time. This is the third time he has done this and I am sick with rage and don't know what to do. A bit of backstory. I am his first serious relationship ever. Before we got together, he was messaging cam girls since he was 17 and sending them money. He is a real sweetheart but not too social. I was the one who made the first move and asked him out. A month into our relationship, I was on Twitter and connecting my contacts. Curious, I clicked on the account and was shocked beyond belief. I don't have the energy to go into what the fandom community is like, but do a quick Google search and you'll get the idea. That's what his account was like, and also had pictures of himself in sub-clothing. The account had not been used in 2 years, but I was still upset about it. I talked about it with him and he was extremely remorseful and said he was too embarrassed to tell me. I forgave him and said that if he had questions or concerns to talk to me and that I would not judge him for his past. He deleted the account. Cut to 6 months later, I have his phone and I'm using it to find a place to go to breakfast. An email pops up thanking him for a transfer of $100 to PayPal. We are not rich people and he had recently been complaining about finances that day but wanted to take me out because I wasn't feeling well. This made me feel worse as I did something I never did with any of my other boyfriends. I snooped hard. I found out that he had been sending money to multiple women and asking them to do or say certain things for about a month. This took a week to do and I waited to see if he would come clean and talk to me. He didn't. I broke down and confronted him and he denied it to me in my face. I didn't talk with him for 3 days before he came over and talked with me and said he had a problem. That it was hard to adjust and that he didn't tell me because he didn't want to lose me or leave me. I know that's a shitty reason. But I had fallen for him at this point and really had deep feelings for him, still do. He blocked her. I gave him an ultimatum. Do this again and I'm leaving. Because of my lost trust and paranoia, I did something that was really uncool and I added my fingerprint to his phone so I could access it quicker. I never used it. A week ago, I told him about it and he was visibly upset, but not too angry. Something about his reaction didn't sit right with me and made me extremely suspicious. Cut to last night. We were dog sitting for a friend, forgot to mention we don't live together, and I have not trusted him since I found out about this last incident. I had been having conversations with him that I felt like he was hiding something from me and that he wasn't being open enough. I asked him every day and he said nothing was wrong. I looked through his phone while he was sleeping and found videos that he had paid for. I was so sick I couldn't sleep. I couldn't believe he did this again and lied to me again. He found me on the couch and asked me if I was okay and all I could do was stare at him. He knew instantly. He immediately confessed and admitted that he was wrong and made a huge mistake. I asked him to show me the messages and was appalled at what I saw. I almost kicked him out of the house, the messages were so bad. I read them aloud and he just hung his head in shame. Going through more messages I found out he video chatted with one of them and talked about me very negatively, but also that he felt kind of guilty about what he was doing, not sure if that was a part of the kink or not. He apologized over and over and I just, and still can't, grasp why he did it again. We are going to see my family for Thanksgiving, then we are going to New York, then to Disney World for Christmas. He calls me every day. We hang out together every day. He talked about moving in together for the past 6 months. Sigh. He's been doing this since August. We talked for over 2 hours and we came to the conclusion that we want to work it out but that he needs help. He gave me all the passwords to his social media, emails, and bank accounts, his request not mine. I messaged the women and told them I was not upset with them because they were just doing their job and fulfilling a fantasy. They apologized and gave me their condolences and understood. They blocked him and he blocked them and deleted their messages. He wants to go to a therapist tomorrow and talk about this because he says he really does not want to lose me because he was a dumbass. I just don't know. I still love him, but he's hurt me multiple times. I know this subreddit is quick to say give up, but I really think if we get help things will be okay. But this hurts a lot. I don't want to go through this again, and I don't know if a therapist will help. TLDR, I caught my 24F boyfriend, 26M, talking to findoms for the third time. He wants to get help from a therapist. I don't know if I should forgive him, but I want to because he is willing to change. Update. He is going to a therapist on Friday by himself. He saw the post and thinks everyone is right and feels like a piece of shit, thank you. Wants me to go with him after his first appointment. Still unsure of what I'll do. Definitely on the fence. He's taking a step and I know that he can do better. Told him that I am not here to help him, and if he wants to do better he has to do so for himself. Willing to work on it as long as he does too. Thank you all again for the solid advice and messages. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Honestly, I get the vibe that he's turned on by you finding out and berating him for it, so that's why he continues. Reply. I asked him if that was the case and he said it was more the idea of me finding out than me actually finding that was the sexual part. He regrets how much pain this has put me in and is not turned on by seeing me break down over this. I have an impregnation fetish and love the idea of it but don't want children. If it did happen I would be devastated. No excuse on his part is all. Just his answer. Don't know if I believe him. Commenter 2. Can you be his findom? Reply. We've talked about this and he's open to it. But he's apprehensive. I'm very open sexually, just don't like being lied to. From what I've seen I would be into it. I've been the dom in other relationships but this is a whole nother animal. Not impossible. But he has to work with me. Additional info in the comments. I know I deserve better. I know I should take it for face value. That I should look at the black and white and that enough would be a good reason for anyone to leave. But I can't stop thinking about the gray area. How he's called me every day and checked on me when I was working on my assignments. Hell, he helped me through grad school. How we've traveled together. That we made plans to move in together. But he's a liar. And a cheater. And degraded me to other women. And didn't tell me after I asked him every day if he had anything to tell me. Despite all that, I don't view him as a monster. I think of him as a colossal dumbass who had no respect for me, probably still doesn't because I'm still willing to give him a chance. I wish he could be a monster. I wish he would make it easy for me so I could move on and find someone else. But he's remorseful. He apologizes all the time. He wants to stop. But just like you, I don't think he can. He's saying one thing but I don't think he realizes just how ingrained it is for him. But I hear what everyone is saying and I will forever be grateful for that. It's just so fucking hard because outside of this monstrously idiotic thing he's amazing and I hate that. But we'll see. So I may be blind but I'm not dumb. If things don't change I'll clean my wounds and move on. I've done it before, I can do it again, but this one is really going to hurt. Update. I wasted another year of my life by trying to help a person that never helped themselves and I'm paying for it in every way imaginable. I introduced him to the Stop Findom subreddit, we went to therapy 3 times, only initiated when I caught him, I tried avoiding it, I tried confronting him. Nothing worked because he never stopped the cycle. I was going to study abroad in Asia in December and I did not need this on my mind before I went. So very impromptu on November 16th, I decided I could not be with him anymore. I was sick of feeling used and lied to about something that he didn't need to lie about. I didn't have solid proof. I just had it mentally because I felt he was hiding something from me. And he wasn't trying to fix our relationship at all, even though he swears up and down he did. Instead of handling it well, he shows me an engagement ring his mom gave to him as I was breaking up with him and begged me to stay again. We didn't speak at all while I was away and I wish it stayed that way. I came back early January and our lease isn't up until February, so I decided we could live together until then. And it was great until Monday, or at least I thought so anyway. We were talking openly about our feelings and he kept apologizing for everything that went wrong. He still wanted to be my friend. Hard no. It wasn't until this last Monday that he got a new phone and switched over his SIM card to his new one. While he was at work his old phone kept going off, so I looked at it. I fully acknowledge that since we aren't together I had no right to go through his phone, but the shit I found makes me feel no guilt whatsoever. If anything, I'm proud I can see him for who he actually is. I found out he went to see one of the doms he was cheating on me with in LA and never stopped talking to her, even before we broke up, and in $15,000 in debt from sending multiple doms money. SN. He always told me one of the traits he doesn't like about me is how badly I handle money, HR projecting much. After I saw this I puked, packed a bag and left. I texted him that I am leaving, and unless it was about the apartment, I never wanted to hear from him again. We've been avoiding each other since. I've been slowly moving my things out and putting it in storage and I just feel emotionally defeated. I went through 3 months worth of messages and found a few interesting things other than the nudes, videos and pretty subpar sexting. He acknowledges that he lied and that he had an intimate connection with her. To which she replies, that's called deceit, not cheating. He's glad that it was her. Glad that he can finally make someone happy. Glad he can please his goddess. Glad to be free. Upset that I never understood him. Wow, what a goof, lol. He is so disillusioned and addicted to this lifestyle that he genuinely believes she cares about him and that he's in the right. He thinks she's actually his friend, while she goes out to dinner with her boyfriend with his money and using him for emotional support, something he complained about to her about me. And how he loved emotionally fucking with me. She is being paid thousands of dollars to stroke their ego though, so I think I would understand that you have to keep the customer happy. She got $500 off of that LA visit, which is pretty impressive if you ask me. I feel like I should say that I respect sex workers and everything they do a lot. But this specific dom is manipulative and has no boundaries. She is a half-baked amateur at best who really has no clue on how to even pretend to know what she's doing. She gives actual doms a bad name. Anyone who is a proper dom and actually cared about their sub's well-being would never do the shit that these two concocted. Like sending me a picture of her ass and saying she only did it because he asked her to. Asking him how he's going to spoil me today and him telling her that he's going to take me to get my nails done as a surprise. Him telling her how unappreciative I am of his gifts because they don't feel genuine, which they weren't, lol. I never consented to any of this and this shit has fucked me up for life. But get this, she's an advocate for mental wellness. What a joke. She praised him for getting out of a toxic relationship and was glad he could be free from all of my nagging and that I wouldn't hold this over his head anymore. Again, either she's really good at customer satisfaction or a really shitty person. More than likely both. But he never told her that I was the one who actually ended the relationship. But yeah, he never changed. He talked a big game but is so deep into his addiction and himself that he's willing to risk everything for it. I should have listened to everyone's advice and left when I had the chance. I shouldn't have moved in with him. Instead, I was emotionally abused by a narcissist who felt that he did everything he could. A direct quote he said to the findom he never stopped talking to for the past 6 months. To those that are questioning and still have hope for the hopeless, get out while you can. You can't change anyone that does not want to change themselves. You can't convince someone they're in the wrong once they see that they're in the right. You may think that other people may not know them as well as you do. It's just something you tell yourself to avoid the actual truth that you're sacrificing yourself for someone who won't even do the same for you. Take care of yourself first because you're only damaging yourself in the long run. Sorry if this looks all over the place, BTW. As happy as I am that I made the decision to leave, I am super depressed and feel like I failed. I know this is all his fault, but I feel like I should have seen this coming. That besides this one thing, he was amazing. But it was a lie. Reddit really helped me the last time and that's the only reason I'm posting here. Because I haven't slept in the past 3 days and could really use some support and will probably regret posting this later, lol. TLDR, I left my lying findom addicted ex and while I'm emotionally destroyed and angry, I'm glad I left. Send good vibes. Update. For those that don't want to Google, findom is financial domination. A more direct definition is financial domination is also known as money slavery and is basically a fetish of people who want to be controlled by another person in exchange for money. They pay people for controlling them and the one in charge is known as a financial dominatrix. Usually, a male is the submissive who is referred to as a pay pig, a money slave, and even a human ATM because the findom can shell out as much money as they can from these subs. I don't have a problem with findom. We actually tried it together. I was uncomfortable with it mainly because I linked it with his cheating and lying. I expressed that I wanted to be monogamous and he stated that he wanted help and felt sick and wanted to change. I said that if this is what he wants to do that's fine, I'm fine with that but I don't want to be deceived and used. Just communicate with me. But as I found out from the messages, he loved emotionally manipulating me and loved to see me hurt. He got off on my pain, a direct quote. He got off on mentally abusing me, and that's not okay. He also had a home-wrecking fetish but I guess it loses the appeal if I consent to it I guess. Mini rant. Don't do this to partners who have no interest in your kink or you have not had the conversation with them on what they are okay within the relationship. Communicate. Give them the option to decide on what they are comfortable with, not what you think they're okay with. Don't hurt someone else if they express disinterest and give you an open opportunity to leave, but you are so selfish that you rather lie to them and put on a facade of wanting help. You can probably find his post on our Stop Findom. I won't link it here, but if you're curious it may be still there from like a year ago. Top comments. Commenter 1. I'm so proud of you. Leaving people is hard, especially when they beg you to stay. I can tell you're a great person and you did your best to keep the relationship alive. You can't stop other people's actions even if you wanted to. I'm still learning that. If he wanted to put effort into stopping, he would. I know you'll be way better off without him even if it doesn't feel like it right now. And I'm sending good vibes your way and hoping the healing process doesn't take long. Commenter 2. This is some fucked up shit people come up with. Stories number 27. Stop doing what I wasn't paid for. I worked in a big company. I did the developer, tech lead, job, project manager's job and a big part of team leader's job. I asked multiple times to have a raise and also less work. That didn't work. When I said I did all of that, my manager just answered yes, you do a spectacular work. But we don't ask you to do all of this. So I don't know why you should get paid more than other people. Well, I stopped doing extras and focused on my job for 3 months. Everything collapsed bit by bit except the projects I kept working on. When I was asked by the clients, I just answered, oh, I'm not in charge of that. You should contact X or the manager, not me. I was asked to come into the manager's office. Why is everything falling apart? You need to do something. Me, it's not my job. For years, you didn't ask yourself how it happened that everything worked so fine. So I stopped doing what was not in my contract. Now you ask why it's not working anymore. The answer is just that I let things fall down. And I'm glad it did because only now you notice the work I did. He was really confused. Got a raise pretty fast. Stories number 28. Aita for telling my sister that having cats is not the same as having children. I, 26F, have a sister that I'll call Jenna, 23F. We're not extremely close, mainly because she was always closer to our younger brother, 22M, but we still see each other pretty often. Last week, we were both invited by our mutual friend that I'll call Mary, 25F, to her baby shower. The baby shower was super fun and it was a great occasion to reconnect with some friends from college that I hadn't seen in a while. Everything was going wonderfully. Towards the end of the baby shower a lot of the guests had left and Mary, my sister, 2 other friends and I ended up talking for a while. Those 2 other friends both have children, and I have a daughter, so we were all giving Mary advice, telling her what to expect, and talking about baby stuff. Jenna was the only one in the group who didn't have children and wasn't expecting, so I guess she was feeling a bit left out. Because of that, she kept talking about her experience as a cat mom. Every time someone would tell a story, or talk about something they experienced with their children, she'd say that she experienced something similar with her cats. When we were talking about how being a parent can be exhausting, she kept talking about how having 3 cats was also hard work. No matter what we said, she was always bringing it back to her and her cats. At one point, one of my friends was talking about how much responsibility it was to raise children, and Jenna just replied having cats is a huge responsibility too. I simply told her that that was not really the same thing and she got really defensive. She said that it was the same thing, and started to talk about all the ways that having cats can be demanding and a huge responsibility and said that we were basically shaming her for not having children. I tried to tell her that it wasn't an insult and we weren't saying that it wasn't demanding or anything, but that you can't compare having pets and having children. I have both cats and a baby, and it's nowhere near as exhausting to have a cat as it is to have a baby. She said that we were disrespectful and invalidating her experience and didn't talk to us again until we left. She hasn't talked to me since. I get that she was feeling excluded from the conversation and maybe tried to find a way to insert herself in it, but also I feel like it makes sense for us to be talking about children since it's a baby shower. Maybe I shouldn't have brought it up, but I also don't feel like what I said was really wrong, and I'm feeling like she might be overreacting a bit. But I don't really know how to feel about it, so I thought I'd get another perspective on this. Edit. I just realized that I didn't make it really clear that when I told her it wasn't the same, it was meant as a joke. Not a very funny one maybe, I'll give you that, but I really wasn't being mean. It was supposed to just be a light way to reply to her, not at all an insult. Stories number 29. Michigan, I need to find help for a gay teenager who does not want to go to a camp to cure him. July 31st, 2020. Alright, I do not live in Michigan, but the family that needs help is there. I have a cousin who is 17 years old, and his parents found out that he is gay. He found out that they are going to send him to one of these camps that swears that they could cure him. He had a friend who was forced to go and the poor kid was horribly abused, and is not doing well mentally or physically. When he found out that those people would come for him, he ran away, called me, and I called some friends that got him to another part of my family. They are going to try and keep him safe. His 18th birthday is next week Tuesday, and we need advice on how to keep him from going. How can we protect him? I don't know much about that camp, so I do not know if they can still drag him there. Advice on how we can keep him safe is very much needed. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. At 18, he cannot be forced to go or stay at any camp. Are you asking for advice on how he can avoid this camp for the next 5 days? Reply. Yes, basically I am. However, I heard of camps that will still take him, even if he was 18. As long as his parents signed for him to go. I do not know if this is true, so any advice would be wholeheartedly welcomed. Commenter 2. NAL, once you're an adult that's kidnapping. AITA for not telling people my missing cousin is staying with me right away. December 11th, 2020, 3 months later. It is the middle of the night, and my phone won't stop ringing because of my family. To try and keep this short, my cousin Jake got outed about 4 or 5 days before his 18th birthday in the summer. His parents, my aunt and uncle, made arrangements for him to be sent to one of those awful camps that claim they could cure him. A kid in his community was forced to go and came back and was clearly not well, so Jake didn't want to go. Jake ran away from home and jumped from one family house to another. His folks didn't file a missing person report because they didn't want to look bad to their neighbors. They just told them that he went to that camp willingly. He disappeared in the middle of October and turned up in my city a week later. After making sure he was safe to bring home, my wife and I allowed him to stay. He didn't want me to tell the rest of the family for a while, because those people at the camp keep showing up to take him. I made sure to talk to a lawyer, who assured Jake that they cannot take him. 3 days ago, he told his parents he was here. A few hours later, those damn camp people showed up, but they were unable to take him. My family has been blowing up my phone for the last 2 days angry that I didn't tell someone sooner. Well, Jake didn't feel safe yet, and still doesn't. I wanted to make sure he was ready. Still, even those that want to protect Jake is upset with me for hiding him. AITA for not telling anyone that he is here until he was ready. Top comments. Commenter 1. NTA. But weird that you think you'd be an asshole for protecting him from those fucked up conversion camps. Keep protecting him. Stick to it, man. Make sure he knows he has a safe place to stay with you. Commenter 2. NTA. Fuck those people. Fuck homophobes that think being gay is something that needs to be cured in the first place. Fuck people that think parents have any right to do that to their kids. Good on you for protecting him. Commenter 3. Not to get all political, but I'm gonna. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that conversion therapy is somehow protected by the First Amendment. I can't even roll my eyes hard enough. It should be called what it is, torture. Commenter 4. Then fuck the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals too. Commenter 5. Right there with you, just figured I should point it out. Opinion was written by 2 Trump appointees. Edit. Wow, thank you all for the awards. I don't deserve them, but thanks. Since I am drinking coffee and slowly going through the comments, I thought I should say a few things. First off, while I figured I wasn't the for hiding him from my more narrow-minded family, it was those that really wanted to help Jake that made me feel guilty. They were all scared out of their minds and wanted the peace to know he was okay. I felt bad for not telling them. Though I am sure they wouldn't have turned him in, I felt bad because we were working on keeping him safe. Also, we got a lawyer who got the police on the lookout for those camp people in case they try anything. Jake is not going out alone until we are sure he is safe. Third, we are looking on how to get his paperwork, like his birth certificate, here because no way he trusts his parents to just hand them over. My granny-in-law is talking to some people that could help. Fourth, Jake says hello and thank you. Oh, and we're Catholic, not Christian. We're our own special type of $$. Yes. Edit once again. Okay, you're right about the Catholic Christian thing. I was raised to split hairs, I apologize. Update. First off, I want to thank everyone for their comments and advice. Thank you for saying I was NTA, because I was doubting myself. Regarding the camp people, we have footage of them coming up to our house, and other family members' houses, looking for Jake. So we have a clear image of what they look like. I already warned those people not to come near our house or Jake. They seem to listen, but Jake is still not going to leave the house without someone. I talked to the police about it, and they cannot do anything unless these people break the law, but they will keep an eye out. Well, better than nothing, I guess. Regarding the paperwork, my aunt and uncle refuse to hand over the papers. They want Jake to either come home or go with those people. Neither is happening. We are looking up ways to get Jake's paperwork without them, but someone suggested calling the police and explaining what happened. While I don't usually want to go that far, that is what we are probably going to have to do. Regarding therapy, Jake agreed to it. I am getting a referral from my own therapist, so Jake is going to get help there. Regarding family, insert loud sounds of pained annoyance. Some family threatened to come over to try and make Jake go back home. Others, while understanding why I didn't tell them Jake was here, are still upset with me. It'll be a while before I can smooth things over with them. Regarding Jake, he is safe. We have him set up comfortably here. My granny-in-law pretty much adopted him, and I am so sure she is going to put him in his will. He is safe, surrounded by people that support him, and I'm going to see about finding him some work when he's ready to try it. Again, thank you everyone for your messages and advice. We will be using them. And Jake says thank you as well. Update, I wasn't sure if people were still reading this or I could make a third post. Decided to update here just in case I can't make a third post. Jake is doing well. While it was a struggle to get his papers from his parents, Jake threatened to tell their community and church that he ran away and they didn't file a police report. They handed the stuff over to keep him quiet. I helped him get his license here, he is staying with my family and I for the time being. My granny-in-law adopted him, I think. She is quite fond of him. He has a job, is in therapy, and we found out his ex-boyfriend's parents were the ones that spilled the beans about him being gay. He is an ex because he sided with his parents, so screw him. But, despite everything he is going to be okay. We are not worried about those camp people anymore. He is safe. He is well and says hi. Stories number 30. My girlfriend suspects I cheated on her and all signs point to me being guilty. My M23 girlfriend, F21, tested positive for an STD and thinks I cheated on her. I'm just gonna lay out the whole timeline of events. I woke up yesterday morning, my GF had already left for work and I headed to my parents' house to help them with some chores and do our laundry. Throughout the day I texted my GF and she was obviously very mad at me, all her texts were intentionally short and now how she usually texts me. She wasn't mad at me the night before, so I wondered what was wrong. I don't like having any serious talks over the phone due to likelihood of miscommunication so I didn't ask her. She told me she had a new prescription to pick up. For the last couple weeks she'd been suffering symptoms of a UTI and nothing she'd been taking had been helping. I went and picked it up and dropped it off at the apartment for her before returning to my parents. She arrived at home, and an hour later I got home as well. When I didn't find her inside, she walked through the front door, having just left our neighbors, all girls our age, apartment. She was obviously stressed and had been smoking pot, we both smoke, to cope with it. I asked her what's wrong. She asked me if there was anything strange about the prescription I picked up for her. I told her I didn't know, I didn't read it. She told me that her UTI swab came back testing positive for chlamydia that morning, and that's what the prescription is for. She said she knows she didn't have sex with anyone else, and so she confronts me about it. I was just completely dumbfounded, and I still am. We celebrate our 5-year anniversary next month and I've been faithful to her for that entire time. I don't even cheat on her in my dreams. She also doesn't think I would or even could do it. I am a very awkward and introverted person, I barely talk to anyone, let alone other women. She told several people, her coworkers, neighbors, and while they didn't think I was innocent, they also don't think I could have pulled it off. Just that morning I had a very awkward interaction with one of our neighbors where she complimented my shoes and all I could think of was oh, thanks. After our talk, my girlfriend currently doesn't believe that I cheated on her, but said that would change if a second test came out positive as well. She said she'd feel like an idiot if she stayed with me if it came back positive again. We scheduled tests for the both of us later that night. It's worth noting that false positives for chlamydia are extremely rare, only about a 2% chance at most. She said that the most likely time frame for me to have cheated was May 5th to 8th. While I spent most of those days either at home or at school, all of which have been verified by her looking through my location history on Life 360, there is one very incriminating event. I'm working on a documentary, and had set up an interview with a couple people on the 6th. The interview took place at an Airbnb I rented, which I stayed the night at the night before for my convenience. It obviously doesn't look good that I stayed the night at an Airbnb an hour away from home in the time frame she thinks I cheated on her. It also does not help that this Airbnb was on the same street as several clubs, and is definitely a partying area of town where drinking and one-night stands are probably very common. I remembered there being a security camera in front of the door of the Airbnb, and I contacted the Airbnb owner, but they said they didn't have access to the footage. The best thing I can think of to clear my innocence is make a timeline of my whereabouts for that week and prove that there wouldn't have been a time for me to cheat. We both went to a clinic and got tested, both urine and blood. It will take 4 to 6 days to get the results. The doctors there told her the symptoms she'd been experiencing weren't very typical for a UTI, so it's most likely something else. Before any of you comment, no, I don't think she cheated on me. I don't think she would do that, just like how she doesn't think I would do it. If the test does come back positive, I would assume one of us somehow got it non-sexually. I'm just going to be stressing about it for the next few days. Everyone she's told just assumes I'm guilty. All I can think about is the worst case scenario of it coming back positive again and her thinking I cheated on her. What do I do to deal with the stress for the next few days? Should I make that timeline? We'll be on vacation this weekend, so I'll have that help taking my mind off it a little. WTF do I do if it comes back positive again? Thanks. Stories number 31. You hang up, no you. Someday I will be a saint, but today is not that day. I just heard an agent give my 80-year-old father-in-law a very, very hard time about canceling home phone service. She wanted to upsell services, etc., and get personal information she did not need to complicate what was supposed to be an easy request. It went on for a while like this. I finally stepped in and shut that down, confirmed a cancellation, and handed the phone back to him and walked away. The agent insisted it was nothing personal, just company policy to engage in customer retention efforts. He moved across country. He told her that, there is no retention possible. Still, she kept him going in circles unnecessarily. I can hear the agent now begging him to hang up from the other room. This call agent cannot end the call. Company policy is that the customer ends the call. My father-in-law cannot hear her as he and my mother-in-law are happily chatting away about elderly bodily functions and peanut butter crackers with apples while this poor agent is literally begging them to end the call. I will not end her nightmare. Stories number 32. My hat is unprofessional. Okay, how's this? Years ago I taught skiing on the weekends at a small Pennsylvania mountain. They owed minimum wage for group lessons, but if you were requested for a private lesson, you got paid about 8x as much. Some instructors had business cards made that they would give out at the end of a group lesson so that people would remember their name if they came back for a private lesson. I was too cheap for business cards. Instead, I bought a surplus leather bomber cap. This worked like a charm. People would ask for the guy with the bomber hat. Plus it was funny and made students smile, but the ski school director decided it was unprofessional and told me not to wear it. He said it was not ski gear and that I needed to wear a skiing-specific hat. So I went out to the local ski shop and bought the most god-awful ski hat I could find. It was neon green tiger striped that clashed horribly with our uniforms. The students still asked for me based on my hat, and the ski school director had no desire to push it any further for fear that I would find something even worse. Stories number 33. My husband made a fake TikTok account to defend me from momfluencer bullies. So I'm a new mom, 26F, and I make small lifestyle videos on TikTok, mostly stuff like postpartum outfit ideas, baby meal preps, etc. Nothing wild, but of course I get the occasional mean comment. A couple weeks ago, someone commented, "Why would you dress like that when you're a mother now? Try looking less like a teen and more like a wife." I brushed it off, until I got curious about a user who kept clapping back at these haters. This mystery account was defending me so hard in the comments and even referenced stuff like our daughter's name, which I hadn't shared online. Last night I finally asked my husband if he knew anything about it. His face went red. Turns out he made a whole fake account under a pseudonym just to defend me from those sad, bitter women because he hated how much they got under my skin. He said, "You already made a person and kept her alive for 8 months while being funny, hot, and kind. You don't need strangers tearing you down on top of that." Reader, I cried. I married a simp and I love him. Hot take, simps are supreme husband material. Stories number 34. Any available staff member will do, you said. Challenge accepted. Our manager put out a call for any available staff member to help with a particularly unpleasant task, sorting through a massive backlog of dusty, disorganized files in the basement. Nobody volunteered, surprise. So, I, the newest intern with the least to lose, cheerfully said, "I'm available." I then proceeded to interpret any available staff member literally. I found someone from accounting, who hadn't been downstairs in 20 years and complained about the dust allergies. I got someone from IT, who insisted on wearing his full hazmat-looking cleanroom suit. And then there was me, meticulously sorting each file with the speed and enthusiasm of a sloth on tranquilizers. The task took 3 times longer than it should have, with much sighing and wheezing. The manager came down, took one look at our team, and just rubbed his temples. He never used the phrase "any available staff member" quite so casually again. Stories number 35. She made me a plate, and I almost cried. I never thought a paper plate with food could get to me, but it did. I was at my college roommate's family barbecue over the weekend. The air smelled like charcoal and ribs, everyone was laughing and calling each other cuz even if they weren't actually related. I stayed near the back, mostly quiet, because I've never really been to a family gathering that felt like this, warm, chaotic in a good way, full. Then my roommate's mom walked over and handed me a plate. Not just tossed together food. A plate. The kind where someone actually thinks about what you like. She gave me the good macaroni, skipped the coleslaw because she remembered I didn't like it, and gave me a double helping of the cornbread I'd been raving about. No big speech. Just a quiet, "Here you go, baby. Eat." I almost cried right there in her backyard. My own family doesn't really do that kind of thing. Growing up, dinner was just, there. Get it yourself. Don't be picky. I can't remember the last time someone made a plate for me without me asking. No guilt, no attitude, no second guessing. Just care. I didn't tell her. I just said thank you. But I meant it more than she'll ever know. Stories number 36. Aita in-laws favor my husband's affair child instead of our baby. Throwaway account for obvious reasons, and I don't want this on my main account. A couple of years ago my husband had an affair and got the woman pregnant. I was devastated. The thing that hurt me the most was that this woman was gorgeous, absolutely beautiful, and it was so humiliating. We had been going through infertility issues and it took us so long to get pregnant. Their child was born a couple months after ours. I decided to stay purely for my daughter, and my husband decided not to have a role in his daughter's life. I had nothing to do with that and never told him he couldn't see his kid. We found out that his affair partner had reached out to my in-laws to tell them that they had a grandkid and that she wasn't looking for trouble but would like her child to have 2 sets of grandparents. My in-laws agreed to meet with her and had a meeting with her parents before they all established visits with the baby and started introducing the baby to the family. I was so hurt. I get that she's family, but I was practically mortified that the entire world knew about my husband's infidelity. My husband's siblings became good friends with the affair partner's sibling before they themselves accepted her because she was the mother to their new niece. My husband and I saw pictures of them together on my Phil's Facebook, and my husband wrote to them and asked why they were getting close to his affair partner when they had only visited us 4 times since our daughter was born. My Phil told my husband that they were being grandparents to their grandchild and called my husband a horrible father for not being in her life, which I get. A couple of days later my Mill and Phil stopped talking to us and removed us from all socials. We still had contact with his siblings, but they felt it was awkward having contact while their parents had cut us off. This continued for a year, and during this time my husband's ex-affair partner got married. They were invited to the wedding and he took her in as his own. I don't want to go into the details, but our daughter ended up passing away and we had to go through this entire legal process because nobody caught the disease in time despite there apparently being signs. Fast forward to now, my husband has had a change of heart and wants to be in his daughter's life. I'm a little skeptical, because I honestly don't think I can handle that. He has been expressing remorse over being a coward and abandoning his kid and affair partner, which hurt a little, but I understood completely. He reached out to his mother tentatively and she replied with a "Don't talk to me about this and don't bother writing to me again after this. If you want to see your kid, get a lawyer," in other words. I honestly don't know how to deal with this. They refused to see our daughter even when my husband's siblings told them she had passed away, which still hurts. This entire thing hurts. I don't know if I'm the asshole for not pushing my husband more to have a relationship with his daughter. Edit: I am not trying to have another kid with my husband, for fuck's sake. Stories number 37. M37 caught girlfriend F31 secretly recording me. My girlfriend was leaving to a concert with her sister. Before she left she set up at least 3 devices to record just audio. I found the 3 set up. One was in our bedroom, one in our bathroom, and the other in the back room of our house. When she came home she acted like nothing happened and she just stalled until I had to try and get sleep. The next morning I woke up, went through the morning routine, and once she was up and going I asked for her phone. She started to hand it over until I asked for her passcode. She has always had access to mine at any time and any point. She pulled back and asked why. That when I told her I had busted her and she instantly denied it. I told her I took pics to prove it and showed her. She kept denying, until I walked away. Then admitted it to me, and she knew she was busted because she heard on the recordings me freaking out once I found the first. Now I don't feel comfortable in my own house. She invaded my privacy in the one place I feel it should be the safest. I told her we are not together anymore and moved her out of the bedroom. Stories number 38. I can smell when people are sick and it's driving me insane. I'm not sure if this is my special gift, but it's actually disgusting. For as long as I can remember, me and my sister have been able to tell when people are sick or are getting sick because we can literally smell you. I don't have to be in your face, you don't have to be the person sitting directly next to me, but I will smell it. I will tell you that you're getting sick and then you will text me a few days later and tell me I was right. I don't know how to explain the smell. The best way to describe it is a mixture of pine and a hint of garlic. It's not just your breath, your pores literally radiate this smell. It's not limited to specific people either. I've told dozens and dozens of people this over the course of my life and it's all the same smell. I guess it's helpful in a way because I can tell people in advance and maybe they can take some measures before they are riddled with the full-blown flu, but you guys stink. Stories number 39. Aita for showing up to my friend's cosplay themed 30th as Phoebe Buffy. My friend Rachel's 30th birthday was this past weekend. Obviously not her real name. We've been friends since college and work in the same industry, a boring one, lol, so we've stayed close. I helped with some of the logistics but was not a host or anything. Rachel has always been into fandom stuff, always has shows she's watching, fan fiction she's writing or reading, fan theories, and fan projects. I am not much of a fandom person. When I watch shows, I don't get very invested or engage with fan theories. I also don't tend to like shows where there's a big fan following. From what I can tell, it's mostly stuff that's like fantasy, science fiction, or paranormal that happens. Forums for shows I like tend to all be this character is over hater or X is a bad person. The closest I've come to anything like that is watching a few episodes of Star Trek with my dad as a kid. I usually like real-life dramas or fun lighthearted shows like Sex and the City or Friends. I know the cool thing these days is to make a big show about how you don't find Friends funny, and truthfully I haven't seen an episode of it in years. It's just an example. For her birthday she asked everyone to show up in cosplay from your favorite series. I will say most of our social group is similar to her in that they like this sort of thing. I'm one of the few odd ducks out. I tried to think of something I could dress up as. I saw some TikTok of a girl showing off her Phoebe Buffy-inspired outfits, and I had a few similar things in my closet, so I went with that. When I showed up, Rachel greeted me and then asked me what I was dressed as because she didn't recognize it. I told her. She didn't know the name, I explained, and she made a funny face and said I guess that kind of counts. I didn't think about it again until later in the evening when Rachel was talking to everyone and thanked them for coming and saying she'd had fun talking about the cosplay costumes with everyone and how everyone did such a good job, except Jessica. But it's okay, you definitely might have tried. It's not like everyone laughed or anything, but it was so awkward. I ended up leaving a little while later because it just felt off. A couple of days later, Rachel and I were texting and she said, by the way, next time I'll help you pick so you aren't embarrassed. I feel like she's implying that I should be embarrassed. Stories number 40. No mileage reimbursement for the first stop of the day. At my last job I lived 5 minutes from a customer I had standing appointments with first thing in the morning, twice per week. The office was about 30 minutes away. I had another customer that was about 45 minutes from me that was over an hour from our office that I was at once per week. Management started refusing to reimburse my mileage because it was the first stop of the day and said use a company car if it's an issue. We had 2 cars for like 8 techs and one was permanently assigned to someone. Can probably tell where this is going, lol. I told them my work day starts at 8 and I'll be at the office to pick up the car at 8. They fought that at first, but there wasn't anything they could do because the employee handbook clearly stated working hours. Unsurprisingly, the car was never available, so they had to reimburse me for way more mileage since I was taking my own car anyway, and even when it was available I was extremely late to every appointment that we were contractually bound to. I might have let what I was doing slip to a couple other techs, and within a week they removed the handbook from our shared drive and rewrote the policy for the next year to reimburse partial mileage for first stop appointments, but I quit well before it got rolled out. Stories number 41. Just realizing how intrusive my flatmate was. I recently kicked my flatmate out, long story, but she was able to afford 35 plus sex toys, multiple $400 skincare products, and more than a dozen pairs of expensive sneakers, but could never pay rent on time. Went overseas and couldn't get back into the country cause she's so dumb she assumed she had citizenship, mopped with the plastic wrapper still on the mop, etc. Dumbest person I've ever met. Anyway, since she's been gone I've realized how intrusive she was. I had a look at her Insta a little while ago and there's a photo of my dog lying on my bed, all good, cute right? Except I can see in the mirror from that angle that she's actually in my bed. Get out of my fucking bed. Weirdo. I had a set of digital bathroom scales that I kept pretty far back in my very full wardrobe as there isn't much storage in the house. I went to use them one day and could not find that shit. Nowhere to be seen. A bit annoying, not the end of the world. Months later, while I'm clearing out her room, she never did come back. I find a set of scales just like them among all her stuff. I hopped on, but they were measuring in pounds not kg as she's British. Just now I sat bolt upright in bed and my eyes went in different directions and I ran to the scales, and yes, you can change between pounds and kg. They're my scales and she must have spent so much time going through my wardrobe to find them. Other things that I found in the room include a fancy pewter horsehead bottle opener which I once asked her if she had seen cause I couldn't find it. She said no. She had it. One of my necklaces which she had hanging on a little hook. She would have had to go through my drawers to find it. It's an antique and distinctive. My 2 hot water bottles that I kept in my other wardrobe, both near new, one is long with a brown jersey on and one is gray with a fluffy panda cover on it, and I've had it for years. No mistaking, they're mine. And a set of new bedding that was mine somehow migrated from the hot water cupboard linen closet into a plastic tub along with all the bedding she compulsively bought. Still in packaging. I thought I was going mental trying to find it. Anyway, she's a few months gone now, but I love the little scavenger hunt she set for me with my own belongings. Stories number 42. Regardless of the circumstance, if you did it, you should get punished, okay? Most of these events happened years ago. A few of the details I only found out about recently. So there was a soldier we'll call Joe. Joe and I were in the army together. Joe was late for formation and unfortunately, other people had been late earlier that month, so the chain of command was looking for someone to make an example of. Our sergeant major always said, regardless of the circumstance, if you did it, you should get punished. SGM would go on about even if other people didn't get caught or punished, if you got caught you should be punished, and eventually it would catch up with the other people. He would tell us this information all the time. So Joe ends up with extra duty and loses about $2,000 in pay. What I only found out recently and thought was karma turned out to be Joe's malicious compliance. Turns out the sergeant major was having an affair with a woman in town who just so happened to be Joe's cousin. Joe's cousin sends Joe incriminating texts and pictures, and Joe sends them to the sergeant major's chain of command and wife. Adultery being a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Sergeant major was forced to retire, career ended, financial loss projected at approximately $500,000 in retirement to the ex-wife. But in the end Joe followed sergeant major's direction that, regardless of the circumstance, if you did it, you should get punished. Stories number 43. AIO for asking my boyfriend to stop calling my C-section the easy way out. I, 25F, gave birth to our son 6 months ago via emergency C-section. It wasn't part of the plan, things got complicated and it was scary, but we're both okay now. Lately, my boyfriend, 28M, has made multiple comments about how I didn't really give birth or took the easy way out. He always says it like a joke, but the more he says it, the more it stings. He once even said it in front of his sister, who thankfully shut him down. I've tried to talk to him about it, and he just laughs and says I'm too sensitive. It's not a real insult, babe. I just mean you didn't have to push. I've explained that it was traumatic, it required surgery, and I'm still recovering from it. But he keeps making the same stupid comment. I finally told him it really bothers me, and if he can't stop, I'm not going to laugh it off anymore. He got annoyed and said I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I'm feeling like I overreacted, but I also feel so disrespected. Am I being too emotional? Is it really just a joke? Stories number 44. AITA for refusing to continue breastfeeding the twins I was a surrogate for. I am 32F and served as a surrogate mother to my 36F sister who couldn't bear children as a result of her cancer treatments. I carried twins for her and her husband using their embryos. The delivery took place 3 months ago. This is where it got bizarre. My sister keeps requesting me to breastfeed the twins since breast is best and she can't lactate. I agreed at first since I wanted to assist her, but it is taking over. She insists I visit her 5 to 6 times a day or express milk enough for all meals. I work full-time and have my own 4-year-old child to look after. I informed her I would need to reduce to perhaps twice a day and some expressed milk, and she burst out crying telling me I was depriving the babies of the opportunity at optimal health. Her husband sent me a text stating I was selfish as I already did the hard part and should still assist them. The situation boiled over yesterday when I walked in and discovered my sister had created a bedroom for me and insisted I just come in to feed the twins whenever they wanted. I told her no and mentioned that formula was a perfectly adequate way to supplement. She took offense and said I was abandoning my nephews and breaking our agreement. I left without giving them food. My mom said my sister and I should be more understanding about her situation, but to be honest I feel my body is being used as a dairy farm. AITA if I wouldn't want to be their full-time milk supply. Stories number 45. AITA for telling my daughter I never want to see her again because she reminds me of the worst time in my life. I, 31M, am gay. I'm married to my husband, 29M, and we've been together since college. We have a quiet, happy life and recently adopted a baby boy. I've worked really hard to get to a place where I feel safe and whole. But a few weeks ago, my past came crashing in, and now I feel like I might have handled it horribly. When I was 17, I was still living at home with my extremely religious and homophobic parents. I'd known I was gay since I was around 12, but I buried it deep. I spent years praying, begging, and trying to convince myself it was a phase. My parents made it clear that if I ever came out, I'd be thrown out and cut off. I started dating a girl from youth group. I told myself I loved her. I told myself I could make it work. We had sex once and it was deeply uncomfortable, and I shut down emotionally afterward. A few weeks later, she told me she was pregnant. Then, she left. I don't know where she went or why, but she was gone. I didn't hear a word about the baby after that. Soon after, I left for college, came out and cut off my parents. I never spoke about what happened with that girl or the baby. It was like sealing off a part of myself I couldn't survive revisiting. I met my husband in my sophomore year, and he's the only person who ever really knew the full story, until now. Last month, I got a message on social media from a 14-year-old girl. She said she was my daughter. Her mom told her who I was. She found my name online. She said she wasn't looking for money or anything, just to know who I am. I felt like the floor fell out from under me. I couldn't breathe. It wasn't her fault, I know that, but her existence snapped me right back into that suffocating, terrifying part of my life when I thought I'd never be allowed to exist as myself. She looks like that girl. She speaks like her. And every word she wrote, no matter how kind, felt like sandpaper on a wound I thought had healed. I responded once, and I told her I was sorry, but I wasn't able to have a relationship with her. She sent a long message back. It was emotional, but not cruel. She said I abandoned her before she was even born, and now I was doing it again. I told her, probably too bluntly, that I never wanted to be her father, that I was a scared, closeted kid forced into a lie, and that seeing her felt like being dragged back into a life I barely survived. I told her not to contact me again. She hasn't replied. My husband is supportive, but some people, especially my sister, say I crossed a line and acted cruelly towards someone innocent. That it wasn't her fault she was born, and I should have handled it with more compassion. But I genuinely don't think I have the emotional capacity to revisit that version of myself. That period nearly destroyed me, so. Aita for telling my daughter I never want to see her again. Stories number 46. Aitj for saying no to my sister after she said no to me years ago. Back in 2019, I was struggling financially. I just lost my job, my car broke down and I was on the verge of getting evicted. I asked my sister, who at the time was doing really well, for a loan to cover rent for 2 months. I made it clear it wasn't a gift and I'd pay her back in installments. She flat out said no, claiming she doesn't mix family with money. I respected her choice, but yeah, it stung because I'm her sister. I sold a bunch of stuff and eventually got back on my feet. Fast forward to now. My sister and her husband are in a rough patch. He left her and she's got 2 kids. She called and asked if I could help her cover rent and bills for the next couple months. It's almost the exact situation I was in back then. I told her I'm sorry, I really am, but I can't help. I didn't mention what happened in 2019, but it felt pretty obvious. She got upset, said I was being petty and holding a grudge, that family is supposed to help each other when they can. Our mom is on her side saying I'm being bitter. Now I feel torn. I can help her financially, it wouldn't be easy, but I could manage. But I can't help but think about how alone I felt when I needed someone. Am I the jerk? Stories number 47. I left my disabled brother behind and never looked back. I, 30F, haven't spoken to my family in almost 10 years. My younger brother has severe cerebral palsy. He can't walk or talk, and he needs around-the-clock care. My parents had me when they were 19, and when my brother was born 5 years later, I became the helper. They didn't ask, I was expected to feed him, change him, lift him, even skip school when his caregivers called off. I missed dances, trips, sleepovers. They told me, he needs you more. That became my entire identity. When I got accepted to a college across the country, my mom sobbed and accused me of abandoning the family. My dad told me I was selfish. But I went anyway. I blocked them a year later when they tried to get me to move back and do my part. He's still alive. I sometimes check through other people's Facebook pages to see pictures. I still love him. But I feel no guilt anymore. I had to choose between saving my brother or saving myself. I picked me. Stories number 48. Aita for refusing to go to my mom's every other week because her stepkids and their mom make threats all the time. 12 years ago my parents divorced and split custody of me, 16M, my brother, 18M, and my sister, 19F. Mom remarried when I was 6. Her husband split custody of his kids, 17M, 15F, with their mom. Her husband's kids' mom was insane and she went crazy against my mom and the rest of us. She made threats, harassed and tried to attack my mom. She was arrested eventually and charged with trying to assault my mom and threatening mom, her husband, me and my siblings, both full and half. My mom's husband got custody of his kids after that and their mom served her time and got out and was given supervised visitation. When all that was going on, Dad was fighting for full custody of me and my siblings. He was terrified something would happen to us because of everything that was going on. But Dad was denied full custody. But after he fought long enough, a clause was added that once we were 14 we could make the choice for ourselves and didn't need to do an every other week switch like we always had. My brother and sister made that choice whenever they turned 14 and lived with Dad. But I loved Mom and we had a good relationship despite it all. So I kept spending the same amount of time with both my parents. But things at Mom's house only got worse. Her stepkid's mom was arrested again for violating her bail conditions, I think that's what it's called, and her stepkids hate my mom and the rest of us. Maybe not their dad. But they are sick and twisted and they threaten my mom with theirs all the time. They hate her. They have spit in my mom's face and talked about their mom doing stuff to put us all at risk. They fight their dad when he tries to defend or protect my mom. And their mom is due to get out again even after everything. They've threatened me with stuff too. Just not as often. I told mom it wasn't good and she should leave. She said it wasn't fair to do that to my half-siblings. That they needed us for protection and to keep some of their family together. My last straw was when the girl taunted my mom that her mom knew a guy who liked our *pink people and she could make it happen. I told mom I couldn't be at her house anymore and I went back home to dad and told him I was staying. He was relieved and I felt bad for making him worry longer. But my mom's upset I left. She said she loves and misses me and my siblings and that our half-siblings feel abandoned because they've lost all of us now. She told me she would never let anything bad happen to me. I told her she can't control that crazy women or her step-kids. Stories number 49. Aita for being upset that my girlfriend thinks it's weird that I help take care of my disabled mother. I'm 20M. My mom, F43, is quadriplegic due to an skiing accident that happened when I was 11. She is paralyzed from the shoulders down. When she arrived home from a rehab hospital, my dad along with my aunt, grandparents, and care attendants took care of her. My mom has worked from home post-injury in finance since 2017. My dad's job was moved to remote status after COVID hit. My aunt still goes over daily to help my mom when my dad is busy with his own job. She is able to do a lot with voice-activated computer programs and in our house she uses Amazon Alexa and other devices. But, my mom is still dependent on others for many tasks such as bathing, feeding, toileting, being put into bed with Hoyer lift etc. During the first few years after her injury I would do small things like helping feed her, giving her beverages through straws. When I was 16, I learned to do other things so I could help out a bit more with her care. I didn't become a constant caregiver and still did high school things like sports, extracurricular activities, etc. I only took care of her when my dad and others needed more help. I go to college in town an hour away from my hometown and I live with my paternal grandparents in that area during fall and spring semesters. This past year, I started dating a young woman also 20 who is from the same area as me but she went to a different elementary schools, middle school, high school than me. She first met my parents around Christmas time. She did admit to me that she has never been around disabled people that much. I didn't get angry with her about that because I've had friends and past girlfriends who mentioned that. My girlfriend has been polite with my mom. My mom is nice to her and was very nice to my 2 prior girlfriends. I have 2 younger brothers 15 and 13 who play lacrosse. Yesterday was their last day of school and my dad is taking them to a lacrosse camp in another state. They left this morning. Right now I'm on summer break from college. I'm back home and will be taking care of my mom with some help from my aunt for the next 5 days. A couple of days ago, I told my girlfriend about this and she said that it's weird for me to take care of my mom and that my aunt or care attendants should be taking care of her. I got upset and said that I love my mom and part of that involves helping take care of her when my dad and family needs help. I told her that the things I do for my mom are no longer weird to me because I've accepted her disability and I explained that my mom deserves respect and dignity like any other person does. AITH for getting upset and saying that. Stories number 50. My boyfriend, 23M, told me he was putting me in my place after a small comment. I, 22F, don't think someone who loves you says that. We've had arguments before, but this one really messed with my head. So, I made a harmless comment the other day. I told my boyfriend he kinda had a marathon runner body, not as an insult, just a light comment. He got annoyed, but I thought it was over. The next day, I told him I had gone to the gym and ended up vomiting twice. It was a rough session. Instead of checking in on me, he brought up my comment from the night before and threw it in my face. You say I look like a marathon runner but you can't even handle one workout. How often do you even go to the gym? Then he said something that made my stomach drop. I'm not comparing, I'm just putting you in your place. I don't even know how to describe how that felt. It was condescending, disrespectful, and it felt like he needed to win something at my expense. To make it worse, we had talked about how I love cherries the day before, and in the middle of this argument, he goes, you know what? I'm not getting you cherries. You don't deserve them. What am I, a kid being punished? I'm currently thinking of breaking up with him because I've reached a point where it's just too much. I don't think a man who truly loves a woman can treat her like that or talk to her like that. Stories number 51. 40M widow of 12 years. Mother-in-law read my wife's diary and thinks I'm a creep. Some details like my age and number of children have been changed to reflect my desire to protect my children. 12 years ago, my wife died after a 2-year battle with cancer. It was brutal as I tried to hold my family together. When we found out it was terminal, we came to the decision to stop treatment. Being intimate was the furthest thing from my mind as I watched my love slip away. Maybe 2 months before she passed, she asked me to be with her as husband and wife. It had been months, and I was conflicted, but I did it after a lot of thought and talking it over with her. I don't regret it. It was the last time for us and it was special to me because it was special to her. Last week my mother-in-law came to visit, which is a frequent event. We cooked dinner for the kids and we talked about my wife. She had kept 3 journals, one for me to read and one each for our kids. It detailed her thoughts on her journey and advice for us as we grow older. She wrote them after we found out it was terminal. My mother-in-law knew about them but never asked to read them. Our oldest brought his out and read a few passages. As my mother-in-law left for the night, she asked if I would share mine with her. I gave it to her. The next day she called me and went off on me for being a creep. All because she read what my wife wrote about our last time together. I was taken back and stunned into silence as she claimed I took advantage of my wife. My wife's own words in the journal made it crystal clear that it was her choice and desire. In fact, she had wanted more but for the emotional toll it took on me. I'm devastated and heartbroken. She did apologize a few days later, claiming she was just overwhelmed reading my wife's handwriting. Things are awkward now and I need some advice on how to get over the hurt and how to help repair the relationship. Edit, I commented below and wanted to add this to the OP. Thank you to everyone who has commented. So many comments that I don't think I can reply to every one of them. A number of people mentioned that perhaps I should not have gave it to her. I didn't word it correctly and should have said I loaned it to her. I do have it back in possession. My mother-in-law and I were always close even when my wife was alive. She has known me since I was a small kid. She truly has been a second mother to me and a blessing in my life. My parents had me when they were in their late 40s, early 50s, when they thought they would be empty nesters, and they have since passed away. Probably a big reason why her words cut so deep. Hindsight being 2020, I should have offered to read some of the entries to her, as a number of them did reference her and how she happy that I had a real relationship with her mother. She helped me care for my wife as she transitioned. I honestly expected her to pass over those entries where my wife talked about the intimacy. As to why my wife did not write one for her mother, I cannot answer that, but I know they had a deep bond and perhaps she felt that her mother did not need one. She has been a huge help with me as I raise my children. Especially in the first few years as I struggled with my grief and getting my children ready for school. Every morning she would come over and make breakfast and help me when my daughter would cry that I didn't braid her hair the way her mother did. I don't think she ever will get over the loss of her only child, just as I will never get over losing my wife. The kids have their last day of school today and afterwards are spending the night with friends. I plan on inviting her over so we can address it. We both lost someone precious to us and I don't want this to drive us apart. I value our relationship and love her, and I know she loves me and her grandchildren. As I reflect on this, I truly believe in my heart that she was just very emotional at reading her child's words and it brought her back to a dark part of our lives. To those who commented who have also lost their husband or wife, my heart goes out to you. It's a pain that never ends. It can dull with time, but it's always there. Thanks again to everyone who left comments with advice or support. It means a lot to me and even brought some fresh tears knowing that there are people willing to help and empathize with a stranger. Stories number 52. I just got rejected for a job I applied to because the male intern fits better within the work culture, a rant. So I applied for a job at the place where I did my internship, and my performance review during this internship was excellent. I have to admit that socially the mood felt off sometimes. The male staff, including my mentor and supervisor, never took breaks together with the female staff, as in, they went to sit at the other side of the table. My country is not conservative, so this is certainly not the norm. Fast forward to today, I get a phone call from HR to tell me that my interview went perfect, and that she can't give me any advice on how to improve, but that they decided not to hire me. I asked what made the difference. She answered that they wanted the intern that has been there the longest because he had more experience. I guess she didn't do her research, because that was me. After mentioning this she went, "Oh, yeah, well, the other intern's personality is very different than yours, so we had to make a choice who fits our work culture best." I did notice my mentor being very friendly with the male intern. He is an extroverted guy, but his work is quite bad, he is chaotic. That's why I assumed I might have had a chance. But despite my hard work I got rejected because of my personality. I hate to admit it, but it hurts. Thank you for reading my rant. I'm going to stuff myself with chocolate now. Stories number 53. Aita for telling my dad that my mom's husband is better than his. After my 16M parents got a divorce, both of my parents got remarried. My mother got remarried to a guy that is fun, easy to be around, kind, considerate and just all around a good guy. I'll call him Luke. My dad, on the other hand, got married to a guy that is cold and very formal. He's polite on the surface, but seems like he wants to wipe me off like a cockroach every time he sees me. I'll call him Gary. The other day, I was having dinner with my dad and Gary was passing judgmental remarks on Luke. For info, Luke is autistic. I couldn't stand it, and I threw the glass of water I had beside me into Gary's face. I told him he is a judgmental asshole and that he sucks the joy out of every room he goes in. Fuck him honestly. I hate him so much. My mom and my dad are both telling me that I shouldn't have done that. I told my dad that my mom has far better choices in men than he could ever hope to have, and that Luke is far better than Gary. Stories number 54. My best friend is gonna be a dad in the same time than me and I hate it. Edit. I'll put this edit in the beginning so that I'm sure you'll read it. Reading through the comments here really helped me to get back to reality. I'm going to have a kid FFS. One of the best advice I've read here was that I do not have a do-over on this one. This is my one and only time that I'm going to have a first kid and I'm totally ruining my experience with those thoughts. I'll speak to my therapist for sure, but you guys have already helped me a lot. Thanks. I feel like a terrible person for feeling that way. I hate everything about and it makes me a very bad friend. Here is some context. My friend and I always had the same interests in many things. He also always had a financial situation better than mine, and loves to have nice things. This creates situations where whenever I have something, he has the better one. Like, for example, I just bought a good computer, a couple months later he shows up with a better one. A nice great camera with a nice lens. He'll get the newer more advanced one. Anything I'll have he'll have it too but just better. I don't want to believe he does it on purpose, we just have the same interests and he has more money so it does just make sense. Anyway, this became a running joke between my wife and I. For a long time, I was having a successful relationship with her, and he was struggling to keep a girlfriend. So when he finally found the one, 10 months ago, we joked about it because she was a single mom with had a 5-year-old daughter. So we joked that okay, he had to one-up you on this as well, you're married to me so he had to find someone that would push him to the next step immediately. And so that was the joke for everything, and it was just a joke. When we decided to try for a baby, we joked about it too, you'll see that when I'll be pregnant he'll show up with twins. Well, you read the title. When I knew I was going to be a dad, I was very excited and I told him the news. I was feeling great about it, I was thinking this would be an amazing moment. Him and his girlfriend asked question, she gave us advices, they were great. And at some point, well, he or she is going to have a friend I guess. And now I hate myself for the following, I was crushed inside. It was no longer a special announcement, it became another thing we'd have in common. I stayed polite and played along but I was not happy at all about it. They didn't plan to do it. They didn't do it just because we wanted one. It just happened, and yet I have this feeling that it's exactly what happened. He went in his 30s with no stable relationship, met someone just to move in with her kid 3 months later, then have a kid with her not even a year into their relationship. I hate every single word that I wrote in this post. Since he announced the news to me, I don't want to speak about it at all with him, I barely want to talk to him, and I'm just focusing on my wife and my future kid. I put all my energy into her. Just I don't have anyone to share my joy with now, and it's my fault. Now, he comes up to me telling me everything he plans, the shopping he's gonna do for the baby, the doctor's appointments, and I don't want to tell what I'm doing or what we're planning because that's gonna be something he'll compare and comment about. Just yesterday he told me that it looked like I didn't care about the first ultrasound appointment just because I said that I cared more about knowing that the baby is okay than seeing the pictures, because I don't think I'll be able to understand what I'll be seeing anyway. I took it very wrong and blocked him. Update. My best friend is gonna be a dad in the same time than me and I hate it. Yesterday I made a post about how I was feeling like a terrible person for not being happy for my friend having a kid in the same time than me. The TLDR of this post is that I always had the, probably false, impression that he was trying to one-up me on everything, and even though I knew this was probably not the case here, something inside me screamed that this was the final straw. Commenters helped me a lot to bring me back to reality. Judgments were made about me, some were wrong but most of them were true. I already planned to take an appointment with my therapist before posting but I took it right after. In the meantime, I couldn't speak to my friend about it because I feel too ashamed of my behavior and maybe some things are better left unsaid. However, I did apologize to him for my recent behavior. Other events had occurred that made me cold towards him, and I explained myself. He appreciated a lot my apologies, me acknowledging that I wasn't a good friend. I spoke to my wife about it, and she was very supportive. I told her basically what you guys told me, that I was going to have a kid, that I didn't have a do-over on this one and that I didn't want to completely miss the moment just because my mind was not in a good place. I told her that I booked an appointment to the therapist in order to refocus on our kid, and she appreciated this. Even though she wasn't as brutal as you, she agreed with all of your advices. She didn't see the post, I just told her the lessons I learned from it. Also, yesterday something very important happened. The first ultrasound appointment. This was incredible. Beforehand, I was not especially excited about it because I had a misconception of what it would be. I thought I was just going to see a few still pictures of the embryo that I wouldn't be able to understand because I thought it'd be 3 blurry pixels in front of a noisy background. However, this was much more than this. This was a live video of those 3 blurry pixels, where the doctor could explore in 3 all dimensions. I saw it alive, I saw his heart beating, we measured it, and we heard his heart. What can I say? Nothing else matters now. I don't care about my friend's actions. My baby is in good shape, my wife is healthy, and that's all that matters. He's the only thing in my mind now, after the echography. I'll still go to my therapist, but the heartbeat I saw and heard yesterday already accomplished so many things. Thanks for you honestly, thanks for those many quotes that I'll remember. Sometimes we are not the good person in the room, but we can try to be better. Stories number 55. Aita for not disclosing that I am not Christian. To preface this, I do commissioned artwork, and don't discriminate against any subject unless it's racist, homophobic, otherwise hateful, or sexually disturbing. I did a commissioned art piece with Christian iconography, a beautiful ornate cross, a saint, and scripture in calligraphy. The client was happy with my work, paid me, and then, asked me what my favorite scripture was. I was honest and just said, oh, I don't really have one, because I'm not a Christian and wouldn't really know which ones I'd like. He became upset and told me that he felt lied to, because I have posted artwork of Christian subjects before, and he assumed I would be Christian. He said the art doesn't hold the same spiritual value, because it wasn't made with faithful intention. I was kind of unsure of what to say. I said I'm sorry you feel that way, but I do artwork for everyone, and I am open to doing Christian artwork because it's for the client, not me. Should I be disclosing if I don't share a certain faith when commissioned to do artwork for it?